I arrived home to find a crowd gathered downstairs in our neighborhood. A neighbor was anxiously holding his father, shouting, Who has a car? Please take my dad to the hospital." My wife was about to step forward, but I quickly pulled her back, shook my head, and was about to leave discreetly when a scream came from behind. "Starry, you have a car, right? Quick, take my dad." It was Richie, our neighbor. I froze, then pretended to be anxious. "Oh no, my car just broke down." I was about to call someone to fix it. "Better call 120. Doctors are more professional. He hasn't arrived yet," Richie said urgently, then questioned, "What a coincidence. Breaking down now. You wouldn't be refusing to help, would you?" The neighbors are also questioning. "Exactly. Broke down right after coming back. What a coincidence. I think they just didn't want to help. We're all neighbors. Is it really necessary? Who doesn't have difficulties?" Adversity reveals true feelings, and time reveals character. Some people seem kind and friendly on the surface, but when it really matters, TSK. My wife's face turned red as she was about to retort. I pulled her again, annoyed. "What do you mean? Do you think I would deliberately not send him? How can I send him if it's broken? Besides, do you even have the nerve to blame me? How long have you all been standing around here? Why didn't you send him? You just stood there, watching our neighbor in danger without lifting a finger." Then I looked at Richie. "Your dad hit his head, which is very fragile. How could you push him to someone other than 120? Isn't that putting him in danger? What if that person gets distracted while driving and has an accident? How could you be so careless? And who would be responsible for this?" Richie's eyes flickered with panic, and he got anxious. "My dad's not in that much trouble. Can't you hope for the best? You make it sound like I'm trying to extort someone. If you don't want to send him, just say so. Can I force you? You're just talking nonsense." The neighbors also got anxious, accusing me of slander and calling me heartless, while remaining silent about having a car themselves. I laughed, calling out the names of my neighbors with cars. Lao Zhang, Lao Wang, Lao Liang. "Why didn't you guys offer? If you didn't want to, just say so. How can neighbors be so cold-hearted, truly heartless?" The neighbors' faces showed unease, and they all started making excuses, either that their cars were broken, out of fuel, or borrowed by someone else, and so on. "Oh, it's not that we didn't think of it in the heat of the moment, right? Besides, our driving skills aren't as good as yours, so we wouldn't dare to drive recklessly." You won't drive, so you want me to do it?" I sneered, directly asking to borrow their cars to take the person myself. They all fell silent and quickly changed their tune. Actually, waiting for the ambulance would be more reliable. True, the ambulance should be here soon, right? Richie said his dad wasn't that serious, so we can wait a bit longer, can't we? Richie, hurry up and call to check, or should we just call a rideshare? As soon as the responsibility is shared, everyone backs off. Richie's face looked grim as he turned to me for help. "Starry, I cut him off, saying I had a meeting to attend, and dragged my wife away. Don't blame me for being heartless. It's not that I didn't want to help, but if I did, it would be fatal, a horrible death, the kind that leads to family ruin. I've been reborn. In my previous life, I didn't hesitate to drive Richie's father, Talents, to the hospital. What happened? Talents had a brain hemorrhage. He was rushed to the ICU on the spot, and the surgery was estimated to cost 200,000. I kindly pulled 50,000 yuan from my savings for Richie, only for him to turn around in the neighborhood group and accuse me of driving too fast, causing bumps that supposedly triggered his father's brain hemorrhage, which was initially fine. He even threw out the 50,000 yuan transfer record, claiming I wanted to settle the matter for 50,000 yuan. The neighbors exploded, angrily cursing at me. I was stunned and furious. I frantically explained that the money was a kind loan. His father fell on his own, and it had nothing to do with me. I was driving very smoothly. Then I questioned whether it was wrong to kindly take Talents to the hospital. Was it wrong to kindly lend money? Richie, however, wouldn't listen, roaring in the group chat, "You're full of it. Does saving someone give you the right to drive recklessly and harm others? I told you to slow down, but you wouldn't listen. You got my dad into the ICU and now you're dodging responsibility. Who in their right mind would borrow 50,000? It's because you're guilty. Is a human life worth only 50,000? Poor dad was fine this morning, and now he's in critical condition. You wicked person." My mind was blown. I was furious. How could he say that about me? I clearly helped him, yet he twists the truth and turns the tables on me. Why, even as I tried to explain, my thumbs were trembling, and my usual lightning-fast typing speed, comparable to a keyboard warrior online, was reduced to that of an elderly person. You can't let a good-hearted person lose faith. You just can't. As a result, Richie angrily shouted, "You criminal." I froze, and then saw the neighbors furiously accusing me of being a murderer and demanding I leave the neighborhood. I was shaking with anger, and no one would listen to my explanations, drowned out by the insults. The next day, my doorstep was piled with garbage, and people threw rotten eggs at me on the street. They were forcing me to move out of the neighborhood. I fled in disarray to the office, only to soon see Richie coming to cause trouble with a banner. After the boss called the police, they merely lectured him a few words and left, as Richie insisted I had caused his father's cerebral hemorrhage, and the police didn't want to get involved. The boss, out of options, told me to go home to avoid the trouble. Humiliated, I walked out of the company, only to be chased and cornered by well-meaning onlookers. I frantically explained that I was just trying to help. I'm a good person. Arg. I was hit in the nose with a stick. What the hell? Are there even any good people in this world? You're just feeling guilty. The man shouted at me. I was instantly covered in blood. Soon I was beaten to a pulp and fled in disgrace. Meanwhile, my wife was also fired using the same method by Richie. It didn't end there. The incident reached the kindergarten, and my daughter was bullied by her classmates. Not only did the principal turn a blind eye, but she was also kicked out. I was furious and ready to fight back, but Richie called in the media, who sensationalized the story. My family and I were doxxed and subjected to relentless online abuse. The parents in my hometown couldn't bear the accusations from their neighbors and jumped. My wife and daughter were killed by a righteous truck while fleeing to another place to avoid the storm, and Richie, he gained a massive following online by loudly denouncing the criminal. He directly opened a live streaming account on Douyin, selling misery and goods, and received numerous transfers. Not only did he raise enough money for Talent's surgery and successfully save him, but he also made a fortune, planning to buy a Range Rover and a new villa. Such a huge disparity, such a blood-soaked steamed bun. Enraged, I stormed to his house with a knife and slaughtered his entire family of 4. I then stabbed several accomplice neighbors before being arrested by the police. In court, I refused to plead guilty and even viciously insulted Richie's relatives and lawyers, ultimately being sentenced to death. Bang, a bullet pierced my forehead, and I fell to the ground like a dead dog. I refused to accept this. Why, when I did good, did I end up with my family destroyed? Are good people meant to lose everything? Why should it be this way? In this new life, I won't be a pushover anymore. I want to watch Talents die, see my neighbors jump into the fire, watch Richie self-destruct. All of you, die too. As soon as we stepped into the elevator, my wife couldn't wait to ask me why I didn't help. Our car isn't broken, is it? I know Richie is lazy and always looking for small gains, but that's a human life. Sorry, you wouldn't really. Seeing the confusion in my wife's eyes, I quickly explained, his dad had a cerebral hemorrhage, and the surgery costs hundreds of thousands. Do you think that guy Richie would try to pin it on us, claiming that our bumpy driving caused his dad's condition? We'd be done for. We should certainly do good deeds, but we shouldn't put ourselves in danger. Good people shouldn't have to take risks. In that situation, we should let the ambulance handle it. Really? My wife felt a wave of fear. Thank goodness you were there. Otherwise, I might have acted on impulse and helped. You're amazing, hubby. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed me. I laughed heavily. I just don't want you to get into danger, because you have no idea how rotten people can be. It was more than 10 minutes before Talents was finally picked up by an ambulance. Not a single neighbor was willing to help, and even the ride-hailing and taxi drivers fled the scene upon seeing the situation. After such a long delay, Talents had already stiffened up, as expected. As soon as Talents arrived at the hospital, they were immediately rushed to the ICU for emergency treatment. 2 sets of doctors had come and gone by the next morning, but the situation showed no signs of improvement. The exhausted doctor emerged from the emergency room, his face stern as he demanded of Richie why he hadn't brought the patient in sooner. Just a few minutes earlier could have made a world of difference. Now, we can only stabilize him for the moment. The rest is in God's hands. Richie was stunned on the spot, collapsing to the floor with a thud, utterly at a loss. But it wasn't over. The doctor's next words completely short-circuited his brain. The patient is hemorrhaging severely. We can't save him with our current resources in time. We'd need to fly in a specialist team from Beijing and bring in advanced equipment. Combined with the follow-up treatment, the total cost would exceed 500,000. It's your call whether to proceed or not. Richie's eyes instantly reddened, his teeth chattering. It took him a long moment before he managed a trembling nod. Save him. After uttering the word, he deflated like a punctured balloon, utterly drained. The doctor nodded. Deposit tens of thousands into the account first. Go borrow money. No. Richie shuddered. Didn't we just pay 20,000 last night? It's all gone. The doctor snapped angrily. You need to understand your father's condition is critical. If you want to save him, don't quibble over money. Why didn't you bring him in sooner? Hurry up and get the funds. Hearing this, Richie left in a disheveled, defeated state. I found out about this from a neighbor who went along in the homeowner group. Although it's immoral, I really want to laugh. It's so satisfying, serves them right. In my previous life, I kindly and promptly tipped Talents to the hospital, and it only cost 200,000 to save him. Now, they're getting what they deserve. I thought this had nothing to do with me anymore. since I didn't meddle this time, but soon, there was a frantic knocking at the door. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Richie, his face swollen and bruised, kneeling on the ground, crying his heart out. Starry, please, my dad is dying, and the surgery costs 500,000. I don't know what to do. My expression slightly changed, but I pretended to be concerned. Don't rush. Take your time. There will always be a solution. Get up first. Kneeling like this isn't helping. Richie refused to get up. His face sullen. I have no face to stand if I can't find a solution. Starry, please help me. I'm out of options. How can I afford so much money if I can't save my dad? I don't want to live either. What a pretentious asshole, I thought disdainfully, but on the surface, it was comfort. Don't worry, I'll definitely help if I can. After all, we're neighbors, but my strength is limited. We still need to find. Just lend me some money, Richie exclaimed excitedly. I don't need much, just 30,000, which isn't much for you. How much? 30,000. I raised my voice, looking troubled. I might not be able to lend that much. After all, my daughter just started kindergarten. My parents have been going to the hospital a lot recently, and I still have mortgage and car loans. There are so many places where money is needed. I can barely scrape together 1,000. That's it. I was just kidding. I won't even give 1,000. What if they say I only lent it out of guilt? Then I'm done for. 1,000. Richie's expression changed instantly. You make 10 to 20,000 a month and you're only giving 1,000. He seemed to realize his tone was too harsh and quickly pleaded. 1,000 isn't enough. I need 50,000. My dad is in the ICU, hanging by a thread. Don't joke around. How could I possibly earn that much? I'm a spendthrift, I said with a helpless expression. There's no way. That's all I have in savings. You can't expect me to cover everything. Can you? Richie got agitated. I'm not asking you to cover the whole thing, just 30,000. I don't believe you don't have the money. Doesn't your wife work at a bank? Are you just not willing to lend it to me? We're neighbors. Help a guy out. You can't be this stingy. He even demanded to see my bank balance. Convinced I was lying about having no money, my expression instantly turned cold. You've crossed a line. We're just neighbors. I don't owe you anything. I don't have it. Plain and simple. Do you really think I'd stand by and do nothing if it were a life or death situation? I was trying to help by lending you money, and this is how you think of me. My dad is dying. Where are we supposed to get the money? Do you expect me to just stand by and watch him die? Richie was in tears, pleading with me again. Please, Starry, just think of something. Ask relatives or friends for help, or even take out a loan. Just help me out. I'll definitely pay you back. I'll be grateful to you for generations. I shook my head firmly. Sorry, I can't overextend myself to help you. I have a family, and I can't drag them down. We're not that close, but I can help you post something in the neighborhood group, or you can look for fundraising organizations, or even my wife can help you get a mortgage loan. How can you be so heartless? Richie screamed, losing his temper. We're neighbors. How can you just stand by and watch my dad's life hang in the balance? You're practically letting him die. I chuckled coldly. I've already tried to help you. What more do you want? Do you expect me to empty my savings to save you? You're pitiful, but do I owe you anything? You don't even say hi to me normally, and now you're calling me a neighbor. People might think I'm your relative. Don't push your luck. As a neighbor, I've done everything I possibly could. Richie's expression shifted, and he quickly began to plead tearfully. I'm sorry, Starry, my dad's life is on the line. I was just desperate and acted out. I didn't mean it like that. Then, he suddenly kowtowed to me. Starry, please, just help me. Don't you love helping people? I can write you an IOU. Sorry, but I've already tried to help you figure something out. Pushing me like this won't get you anywhere. I pursed my lips, unmoved. You're really not going to help me. Are you really that heartless? Richie's face darkened. Seeing my indifference, he flew into a rage. If you had just taken my dad to the hospital in the first place, he wouldn't have had a brain hemorrhage. How dare you? Refuse. Do you have no conscience? You have to lend me this money. The gloves are off. My face turned grim. What does your dad falling have to do with me? You're blaming me for not taking him. If I had, you'd have blamed me even more. You'd have pinned it all on me. And my car was broken. How was I supposed to take him? You can't just be so shameless and pin every accusation on me. I have no legal duty to rescue him. Go ahead and sue. It won't get you anywhere. Richie's face flushed red. My dad's in this state and you're still insulting me. Your car wasn't broken at all. You just didn't want to take him. You made him miss the critical rescue window. This is all your fault. I scoffed. You say it wasn't broken, so it wasn't. Is it your car or mine? The one who made your dad miss the rescue window is you. There were so many neighbors around then. Why didn't you ask one of them? And show me the law that says I'm obligated to rescue someone or else be held responsible. Get out. This is not the place for you to cause trouble. With that, she moved to close the door. Richie roared, "Starry, you heartless bastard, you'll suffer for this." Then he stormed off. I watched his retreating figure with a cold smile. Helping you is what would bring me misfortune. I'm enjoying myself right now. I slammed the door shut. I thought he wouldn't come back to bother me again, just as I believed life had returned to normal. A message popped up in the neighborhood group. My father needs surgery for a cerebral hemorrhage, and we need 500,000 yuan. I humbly ask everyone to lend us some money, and I promise to repay it within 3 years. I cannot express my gratitude enough, but if there's anything I can do for you in the future, please don't hesitate to ask. I was about to gloat, but my smile quickly froze. Special thanks to Starry for agreeing to lend me 30,000 yuan. Have you managed to gather the funds? Can you transfer it to me now? At 5:04 Starry, hurry up, please. 3 screw. You idiot, my face darkened instantly, and I retorted immediately, who promised you that? Show me the proof. You could kill me and I still wouldn't have 30,000. Richie, however, played the victim. Starry, what do you mean by this? Are you having trouble raising the money? Just say it outright, lend whatever you can, but you can't just deny it. You clearly promised me just now. Do neighbors really need to record conversations to have that little bit of trust? I was just about to unleash a furious tirade when the neighbors all began to express their sympathy. Starry, that's enough. Can't you see how pitiful Richie is? Do you have to be so harsh? Have you no compassion? Exactly. It's just 30,000. A promise is a promise. What's with the backtracking? Is that all the integrity you have as a grown man? Hand it over already. Don't make us lose respect for you. If you have any conscience left, you'd hand over the money right now. Talents is in the hospital, waiting for life-saving treatment. How can you live with yourself? I let out a bitter laugh and snapped. Are you all idiots? Just because he says I agreed. If he said you all promised to lend 30,000, would you cough it up too? How ridiculous. Do I have such a good relationship with him that I'd take 30,000 from him, even if a relative asked to borrow 3,000? I'd think twice, let alone this guy. Then I called out each neighbor by name. Lao Wang, when you were hospitalized, I took your grandson to kindergarten every day for a month, didn't I? Lao Zhang, when your child was away, who was it that ran around for you, buying insurance and handling your low-income benefits? Lao Liang, half a year ago, you said your wife needed money urgently, and I transferred 5,000 to you. You still haven't paid me back, and have I ever pressed you for it? I won't go into the rest. Everyone knows what's what. How can you have the nerve to say I have no compassion or conscience? Do you even have a conscience? I thought they would feel guilty, but instead, they all got angry. So what? Is that a good enough reason for you to back out at the last minute? Exactly. You're still holding on to that little favor after all this time. Sounds like you're just waiting to cash it in. Sure, you helped us, and we're grateful, but that doesn't give you the right to go back on your word. Oh, please, everyone, don't let him guilt trip you. He only helped us to build up his nice guy image, didn't he? He got all the good PR out of it. Isn't doing a good deed its own reward? I was so furious I could spit blood. Build up my nice guy image. My ass, what good is an image? Does it put food on the table? What do I even get out of it? So now I'm in the wrong for helping you people, you ungrateful, shameless snakes. How can you even say that? With a cold snort, I won't take a single cent of this money. I never agreed to it. This bastard not only couldn't get a loan but also tried to pin his father's stroke on me. I wouldn't lend him a damn thing, this piece of scum, and he feels sorry for himself. Fuck him. The group instantly exploded. Everyone angrily denounced me for being uncivilized and shameless. Then Richie quickly pretended to be pitiful, claiming he didn't do it. Starry, if you don't want to lend, then don't. You can't slander my innocence. Richie, may not be capable, but I am upright and honest. How could I do something so shameless? You're falsely accusing me. You're clearly borrowing money out of guilt for not sending my dad to the hospital. The neighbors joined in shaming me too, saying my true colors were showing, that I was rotten to the core. I went off on him. Feel guilty, my ass. What's it got to do with me? Why should I feel guilty? My car broke down. Out of all the people there with cars, it has to be me, the one with the broken down car, who feels guilty. Why don't they feel guilty for not taking him? And you have a car too, don't you? Why didn't you take him yourself instead of pushing it on me, trying to pin the risk on me, and you dare say you're not blaming your dad's death on me, you shameless bastard. If you want to pin this on me, go ahead and sue me. Stop your goddamn whining. Richie was furious, yelling that I was making vicious accusations. My friend had already picked up my car, otherwise I would have taken him. How can you keep slandering me like this? How can you be so malicious? I never blamed you. It's your own guilt talking. I Richie, swear to God, if I did that, I'm not human. May I die a horrible death. May I get run over by a car. Then he sobbed. Even if you change your mind and don't lend me the money, I wouldn't sue you or call the police on you. My dad is gone, and that's just his fate. Hearing this, the neighbors urged him not to give up. We'll help you get justice. Then he angrily scolded me. Richie is so adorable. He wouldn't lie. It's you, the hypocrite, who has a black heart. Enough is enough. Do you really not feel guilty for slandering innocent people over and over again? He swore. So it must be true. Richie wouldn't joke about his own innocence. Pay up now, or you'll never hold your head high in this neighborhood again. These lunatics, I can't be bothered to argue. I'll just show you the surveillance footage from the smart lock, clearly capturing Richie's true nature. If you had just taken my dad to the hospital in the first place, he never would have had that stroke. How dare you? Refuse. Do you have no conscience? You have to lend me this money. The group chat fell deathly silent. I laid it all out. Keep barking like a dog and see what happens. You think I'd lend 30 grand to a lying piece of shit who tries to pin this on me? He's a liar. You're all a bunch of idiots. God damn it. Apologize to me right now. Richie instantly flew into a rage. You jerk. You actually took sneaky photos of me. Do you know that's illegal? How could you be so disgusting? Delete them now, or I'll sue you. It made me laugh in anger, but what really infuriated me was that those neighbors showed no remorse and kept urging me to be more forgiving. Talent's condition is critical, and Richie did that out of desperation. He didn't mean any harm. Just be more understanding. A real man shouldn't be so petty. Although Richie made a mistake, can't you see your own faults? You just stood by and watched your neighbor in crisis, lending only $1,000 and saying such vicious things. That's just too much. Exactly. To make up for Richie, you have to lend him this 30,000. I'm going off. I'll lend your mom, blaming his stroke on me and still claiming you had no bad intentions, accusing me of agreeing to lend 30,000 but then not doing it, ruining my reputation in the group, and still saying you had no bad intentions. Screw you. Without surveillance, I'm done for. After treating me like this, do you expect me to forgive him and lend him money? Are you all out of your minds? Dare to call me vicious? Where were you barking when he slandered me and tried to destroy me? Fine, since you're all so forgiving and generous, why don't each of you give him 30,000? As for me, not a single hair. The group chat fell silent. I could already picture them, fuming with rage but too afraid to be the first to speak. I couldn't be bothered to engage. Just as I was about to mute the chat after a moment's wait, Richie suddenly apologized to me. I'm sorry. Sorry, my dad is dying. I was completely out of options. That's why I did what I did. I'll come to your door and kowtow to apologize. Okay, please, I'm begging you to forgive me. I'll borrow any amount of money. I'd even be grateful for a few dozen bucks. So to save your dad, you'd have to get me killed. I replied coldly. Save your gratitude. Anything that fake makes me sick. With that, I closed the group chat. Soon after, Richie started collecting money in the group chat. Those compassionate neighbors who had claimed 30,000 wasn't much suddenly went silent. They even hesitated for ages to lend a mere 300, all while making sure Richie remembered their generosity. After all that fuss, they only managed to scrape together a little over 5,000 yuan. The most anyone lent was 800, and that person repeatedly insisted Richie must pay it back, demanding a signed IOU with a thumbprint and even a third-party witness. I couldn't help but laugh. How do they have the nerve to ask me for 30,000? They're so generous with other people's money. I didn't hold back either. I called them outright in the group chat, mocking them. Oh, 30,000 is nothing, but 300 is a fortune. The biggest loan was a whopping 50. You all criticized my 1,000 as pitifully small, yet not a single one of you gave more than that. Oh, wait, could it be you're all just... I didn't get to say the rest. I was quickly muted by the furious group admin before I had the chance. The next day, Richie tried a crowdfunding platform, but he raised even less money than what he'd borrowed from his neighbors. Times are tough, everyone's struggling to get by, and there are just too many people in need. That evening, an argument broke out at Richie's home. In the middle of it, the hospital called to press for payment. He rushed out in a panic to get there, and when he returned, his face was a picture of utter devastation. At 5 in the morning, Talent's rescue failed. He was gone. Richie and his wife arrived at the hospital early in the morning. After handling the fees, signing documents, and the cremation, it wasn't until evening that they finally dragged their exhausted bodies back home. Richie's eyes were red and brimming with tears, filled with nothing but regret and sorrow. Just when I thought it was a satisfying conclusion and none of it had anything to do with me, a message popped up in the group chat. Starry. My dad was only 30,000 short, just 30,000 more and he could have been saved. Why wouldn't you lend me the money? It's you. You're the one who killed my dad. It's you. For how can this be my fault? I was stunned and about to argue back, but the neighbors in the group chat started comforting him, then turned on me in anger. You murderer. Why wouldn't you lend the money when you're so rich? If you had, Talents wouldn't be dead. That was a living human life. A few $1,000s means nothing to you. Exactly. A few $1,000s isn't worth a human life. We're neighbors. How could you be so cold? You happy now that you've caused Talent's death? Richie made a small mistake, but this is a matter of life and death. Why are you nitpicking over trivial things? Besides, he already admitted his mistake and apologized. Why are you still holding on to it? Kneel down, repent, apologize. I'm not putting up with these idiots. I'm going straight to voice chat. Stupid fools, what are you barking about? The missing 30,000 has nothing to do with me. Why can you borrow tens or hundreds? But I have. To borrow 30,000, am I supposed to borrow it or else I'm the one who killed his father? Why doesn't he borrow 30,000 from the government and have them pay him? This is so ridiculous, and for the 10,000th time, I don't have the money, I'm broke. Are you trying to force me? Even if I had money, I'm under no obligation to give it to you. Got it. Tell me, what law says not lending money is a crime? Answer me. Still trying to guilt trip me? Why don't you guys cough up the 30 grand? Yourselves. What's the matter? Did you kill Talents too? Oh, so you're murderers as well? Unbelievable. What law says a neighbor has to lend money? Talents wasn't my father. It was Richie's responsibility to save him, and he failed. I bear zero responsibility. On the contrary, it's you people who lent money and attempted a rescue but still failed to save him who should be held legally accountable. The 60-second limit is for the voice message, not for me. The group chat fell silent, I thought. They might feel a bit guilty, but then Richie roared, "My dad is dead, and you still talk like that? Do you even have a heart?" The neighbors also started calling me cruel, heartless, and extremely vicious. I couldn't help but laugh, realizing they were in the wrong. They started resorting to morality. I continued to lash out. If you have a heart, do you blame me for your dad's death? If you're not cruel, heartless, or vicious, why join in slandering an innocent neighbor? Go F*** yourselves. Go ahead and sue me, see if I'm liable. This is ridiculous. You blew through the money in just a few days. I don't believe you can't even come up with 30 grand. What about your house? Why don't you sell it or get a mortgage? Oh, so you're too cheap to spend your own money and just pin the blame on an innocent neighbor instead. Get lost. Keep barking like a dog and I'm calling the cops. Richie snapped. How do you know I didn't get a mortgage? The money's gone. Do you have any idea how much it costs to hire specialists and equipment from Beijing? Who are you to question my filial piety? The neighbors also joined in, denouncing me as having a filthy heart. I curled my lip. Oh really? Then show me the mortgage document. If you can't produce it, shut your mouth. I didn't hold back. Soon, I saw Richie toss out a mortgage document, but all the key details were redacted. Which property? Who mortgaged it? When it was mortgaged, none of that was there. He didn't even show the loan amount, yet he started yelling, demanding an apology. I've done my best. What more do you have to say? If you had any conscience, you'd compensate me. I'm not asking for much. Just a few hundred will do. Compensate? What the hell am I compensating for? If I really did, it would confirm my guilt. I retorted in disbelief. Are you dreaming? Even if it were true, so what? Not lending money isn't a crime. And this is clearly fake. I directly presented the proof that his house had no mortgage, which my wife, who works at the bank, had found. I sneered. Come on, keep barking, keep slandering. The house is in perfect condition. You're telling me it's sold. You're full of crap. Damn it. You're unwilling to sell your house, so you end up forcing your neighbors to borrow money. Not lending is killing someone. Go to hell. How dare you, you beast, bark at me like that. And you bunch of brainless scum, all of you, apologize to me. Speak up. Richie was furious. You animal. How dare you? Investigate me. I'm calling the police for invading my privacy. I laughed, thinking, oh, so it seems like I'm the one in the wrong. Fine, go ahead and call. These are all public records. Why can't I check them? Investigating is disgusting, but spreading rumors and slandering me isn't. Go ahead and call. I was just about to ask the police to investigate everything at the hospital. Let's see if it's really a shortfall of 30,000 or if someone just didn't want to save the situation. Let's see. Who's in the right? You're making a mountain out of a molehill. We're neighbors. Do we really need to go this far? Richie was furious but quickly backed down. You win this round. Let's see how this plays out. I retorted. If you don't dare to call the police, then shut up. He fell silent. And then my neighbors accused me of being cold-hearted, which I promptly shut down with scathing retorts. I wasn't putting up with it. They got so mad they begged the group admin to kick me out, which Made me laugh, so Richie definitely won't bother me anymore, right? The next morning, as I was about to drive to work in the garage, a figure suddenly appeared and blocked my way. After glancing around, he looked vicious and said, "Starry, you're paying today, whether you want to or not. Damn it. There's no money I can't get. I just don't get it. Why is it so hard for you to give me some money? You're so rich." Then he sneered, "This is a blind spot for the cameras, if you don't do as I say. I'll go to your office and cause a scene, getting you fired." I scoffed. "Are you out of your mind? Do you think everyone owes you something? What does my money have to do with you? You want to cause trouble? Do you even know what this is?" I pointed to my Xiaomi SU7. Richie sneered. "Who doesn't know? You're going to give it to me as an apology. That's not a bad idea." His eyes were filled with greed. I laughed and cursed. "You dare bark like a dog after knowing that? Don't you know this car has a sentry mode? I'll upload the recording of what you just said and the video of you slandering me online and see if you survive. I won't rest until you're behind bars, or I'm not a Lou, you." Richie's face darkened, and after a long pause, he gritted his teeth. "Delete the video, and I won't pursue this further, otherwise, get lost." I shouted angrily. "Do you think I'm stupid? With your credit, you can't even unlock a shared bike." Richie completely lost it, turned around, and stormed off. "You're tough. Fine, don't delete it. If you dare to post it later, I'll go all out against you. Go play with yourself," I mocked, laughing out loud at his furious figure. I had a feeling he wouldn't bother me again, and I felt a surge of relief, finally rid of that bastard. This is going to get interesting. He definitely won't let it go, and those neighbors who helped him are in for a treat. I can hardly wait. 5. Sure enough, shortly after I arrived at work, I saw Richie at ING. Each neighbor who lent him money in the group chat. "You murderers, you killed my father. If it weren't for you refusing to take my father to the hospital, he wouldn't have died. It's all your fault, and you owe me compensation. I'm not done with you." He then demanded compensation from his neighbors, multiplying the amount they had originally lent him by 1,000. The highest demand was 800,000, the lowest was 50,000, totaling over 5 million. The neighbors were stunned. They desperately tried to explain that it wasn't their fault, insisting they had lent the money out of genuine kindness. Richie just sneered. "Kindness, my foot, you're just feeling guilty, and since you lent money and got involved in the rescue but still failed to save my father, that's illegal. You're legally liable." The neighbors were furious, calling Richie an ungrateful wretch. But what good did it do? Richie didn't care. He threatened to go to the media and expose them, ruining their reputations. If they didn't pay up, the neighbors were furious. Suddenly, understanding how I felt at the time, regretting it deeply, this Richie is a damn beast. It was no use. The next day, Richie called the media, holding his father's portrait in ashes, going door to door asking for money, kneeling at their doors and wailing, "Father, you died so tragically. These murderers are still living so carefree. You died with your eyes open." The neighbors were furious and banded together to confront Richie. In the scuffle, Richie accidentally let go, and the urn slipped. Bursting with a loud bang, ashes flew everywhere, and Richie fainted on the spot. The live stream exploded with outrage, everyone furiously condemning the bad neighbors. Then, as the live clip spread, coupled with Richie and his wife and son also going live to cry about their plight, netizens launched a frenzy of online bullying against the neighbors. No matter how they explained their innocence, it was useless. They had already been branded as the criminals who maliciously refused to take Talent's to the hospital, borrowed money out of guilt, and then failed to lend enough, leading to Talent's death. The next day, their doorstep was piled high with garbage. But that wasn't all. Richie, holding Talent's portrait and the newly packed ashes, went from company to company of the neighbors to cause trouble, live streaming with a banner, vowing to seek justice for his wrongfully deceased father. As expected, the bosses immediately fired the neighbors. Once they were kicked out, they were surrounded and beaten by angry justice seekers. The neighbors were filled with endless grievance, shouting that they were good people, only to get punched in the eye. "Good people, my ass. You're exactly the kind of hypocritical good person I'm looking to hit." They felt utterly wronged and furious, determined to fight to the bitter end. Soon, they came begging me to back them up, claiming they were slandered and vowing to turn the tables and file a lawsuit. I laughed. Richie is so adorable. He would never slander anyone. "You heartless murderers, why don't you get down on your knees right now, apologize to Richie, beg for forgiveness, and pay up? Starry, you." The neighbors were beside themselves with rage, accusing me of being in cahoots with Richie and calling me a bastard. "Did you ever think about today when you were helping that beast insult me?" I sneered, turning to leave. "You deserve it." The neighbors were so angry they stomped their feet. Soon, some couldn't take it anymore and paid Richie compensation, while the rest banded together to sue Richie for slander, and the result, the judge dismissed the case outright. "If it's none of your business, why did you borrow money for the surgery? Talents died from the surgery, and you can't escape your responsibility." The neighbors were stunned, and they begged me again to prove Richie was extorting money, even kneeling on the ground to admit their mistake. Starry, we were really wrong, I said with a deadpan expression. Richie just lost his father. How tragic. What's the big deal about you compensating a little? We're all neighbors. Can't you show a bit more compassion? It's just over 5 million. It's not that much. Besides, Richie only acted that way because he was overwhelmed with grief. He meant no harm. Can't you be more understanding? Don't be so petty with your own neighbors. And sure, he made a mistake. But if we ignore the facts for a moment, aren't you at fault too? You stood by and watched a neighbor in crisis, only offering to lend a few hundred, or even just tens, and then you had the nerve to say such vicious things. It's absolutely outrageous. To make it up to Richie, you have to pay this 5 million plus. The neighbors were left speechless with rage. Every one of those arguments had come back to bite them. I almost couldn't hold back my laughter and quickly made a detour to get out of there. The neighbors flew into a rage upon hearing this. We've already apologized. What more do you want? Why are you being so petty? What's the big deal about helping out? Are you trying to drive us all to ruin? Pfft, I couldn't care less about you. Afterwards, the neighbors caved in and paid up over 200,000 to get Richie off their backs. They even signed a settlement agreement under the supervision of the neighborhood committee. That should have been the end of it. The neighbors had already paid a heavy price. They lost their jobs and their reputations were ruined. It was as if their lives were over. Unfortunately, it wasn't over. In less than a month, Richie had gambled all the money away and was back at their door demanding more. He even brought along a whole crowd of distant relatives, putting on a shameless, brazen act. Furious, the neighbors called the police and had him locked up for a few days. After his release, he stopped causing a direct scene. Instead, he went around telling everyone how the neighbors had caused his father's death and paid a large settlement, sabotaging any job they tried to get and making them targets of public scorn. The neighbors were utterly miserable. To make matters worse, calling the police was useless because he was merely stating facts, not technically harassing or provoking anyone. Once, a neighbor who couldn't take it anymore scolded Richie, saying he brought shame to his father and that his father's death was karma. Richie snapped on the spot and brutally beat the neighbor. He knocked out a few teeth, and it took paying tens of thousands to gain forgiveness. But he still ended up in jail for half a month. When he got out, he found the neighborhood committee discussing evicting his family from the community. Furious, he stormed into the committee with a kitchen knife to argue. During the squabble, someone yelled to call the police and charge him with attempted murder, sending him back to jail, while mocking him by pointing to their own head. Coward, what are you pretending for? Dare to cut? Go ahead, try it. Richie snapped and delivered a fatal blow, instantly turning him into Louis XVI. Seeing this, the neighbors rushed forward barehanded to apprehend him, shouting at him, Richie, you're done for. You're finished. Drop the knife and surrender. Enraged, Richie became the deadly 13 killer, slashing 14 people before being subdued by the arriving security guards with shields and pitchforks. Soon after, the police arrived and took him into custody, leading to his execution. 6 months later, I was promoted to supervisor due to outstanding performance. With a monthly salary of 50,000, my daughter won first place in kindergarten, my wife closed a big deal and earned several tens of thousands in commissions, and she's also about to get promoted soon. My parents' health has improved, and now they do Tai Chi and dance in the square every day. I feel like I'm dreaming. All of this happened just because I didn't meddle in others' affairs, and I didn't let my kindness become a tool for others to hurt me. The outcome was so different. Being a good person, even dogs wouldn't do it. Story 2. My sister-in-law was obsessed with those con baby romance novels, determined to marry into wealth. She used her job as a hotel cleaner to secretly get pregnant with the CEO's child. Little did she know, a man like him would never allow such a vulnerability to exist. I warned her not to take the risk, and she listened, disposing of the stolen personal items. But then, in the blink of an eye, another cleaner gave birth to the CEO's baby. She was set for life, living in a mansion, driving luxury cars, with a monthly allowance of 2 million, blaming me for shattering her Cinderella dream. My sister-in-law lured me to an illegal clinic. I met a tragic end on the operating table. After being reborn, I returned to the day my sister-in-law went to the guest room to harass the CEO. This time, I watched coldly as my sister-in-law dug her own grave. Clara, aren't you an obstetrics nurse? Just help me get pregnant with the CEO's baby. When I make it big, I'll make sure you're well rewarded. The searing pain of steel needles piercing through my body hadn't even faded when my sister-in-law's gleeful voice exploded in my ears. It suddenly hit me. I'd been reborn, and I'd come back to the very day my sister-in-law stole the CEO's personal items from the hotel, planning to undergo a procedure to carry his child. My sister-in-law had been married into our family for less than a month when my brother died in a car accident. Feeling sorry for her being widowed so young, our family asked around, and my father helped her land a job as a cleaner at a 5-star hotel. My mother gave my sister-in-law the entire 500,000 yuan death compensation for my brother's accident. And I, because my sister-in-law insisted on remaining a widow for my brother, always indulged her every whim in a past life. My sister-in-law became obsessed with CEO baby romance novels after reading about a heroine who accidentally stumbled into a CEO's room while drunk, had quadruplets, and married into a wealthy family. She was completely captivated, determined to have a CEO's baby and marry into wealth. My sister-in-law took a reckless gamble, using her job as a cleaner at a 5-star hotel. She secretly took the CEO's used personal items and asked me, working in obstetrics and gynecology, to help her conceive through medical means. I urged my sister-in-law to think twice, because wealthy people don't make such careless mistakes as leaving their used personal items lying around. I also noticed that the item my sister-in-law brought home looked exactly like the cheap personal care products the community gives out for free. How could a billionaire CEO possibly use such low-quality personal items? After hearing what I said, my sister-in-law also started worrying that the user might not be a real tycoon, so she immediately threw the item in the trash. But to our surprise, a few months later, another female cleaner at the hotel actually got pregnant with the CEO's son using the same method, and she was carrying septuplets. The cleaning lady leveraged her child's status to climb the social ladder. Though the CEO never married her, he gifted her a villa worth hundreds of millions, luxury cars valued at tens of millions, several housemaids, and a monthly allowance of 2 million yuan. When my sister-in-law learned what happened, she blamed me for shattering her dreams of marrying into wealth. She lured me to an illegal clinic and forced me into prostitution to earn money for her. A 35-centimeter steel needle pierced through my body. I screamed in agony, begging my sister-in-law through tears to let me go. With a twisted expression, she snarled that if I hadn't meddled, she would have already been pregnant with the CEO's child and elevated her status through motherhood. Claiming I owed her all this, I was locked away in a pitch-black, unlicensed clinic, subjected to inhuman torture, and permanently lost my ability to bear children. With my last ounce of strength, I desperately begged my sister-in-law to let me go home, but fearing I would report her to the police if I returned, she heartlessly sold me off to northern Myanmar. After my death, my sister-in-law used the blood money from selling me to live in a mansion, drive luxury cars, and lead a lavish life as a wealthy woman. After I went missing, my sister-in-law deliberately led my parents to believe I had been kidnapped by human traffickers. They sold our house to fund their search for me, only to be robbed and murdered by those same traffickers. Remembering the tragic fate my family suffered in my past life, I glanced at the obviously free, cheap personal care products in my sister-in-law's hands and smirked inwardly. How could a distinguished CEO from a wealthy family possibly use such cheap freebies handed out in the community? Besides, just because someone uses the CEO's card to book a hotel room doesn't mean it's the CEO. It could just as easily be his driver or assistant. But why should I remind my sister-in-law? In my past life, my earnest advice didn't earn her gratitude. Instead, she repaid kindness with betrayal, leading to our entire family's tragic death. This time, I've decided to let others face their own fate. I'll stand back and watch as she reaps what she sows, bearing 10 children in one go. Seeing my silence, my sister-in-law shoved me angrily. Clara, you swore at your brother's grave that you'd take care of me for life. It hasn't even been a year since your brother passed, and you're already abandoning me. Sobbing, and here I was planning to remain faithful to his memory for 3 years. Your family is just too cruel. Hearing my sister-in-law's words, my mother quickly stepped in to mediate. Meng, don't cry now. Clara never said she wouldn't help you. We're just worried you might get scammed. As she spoke, my mother kept shooting me meaningful glances. In my previous life, I seized the moment to voice my suspicion that it might not be the CEO using such cheap personal items, but rather the CEO's driver. My sister-in-law's fantasy of leveraging motherhood for status was successfully dashed by my words. But in this life, I followed my sister-in-law's lead and ended up advising my mother instead. Mom, my sister-in-law is still young. How could we expect her to remain a widow for 3 years for my brother? I support her in bravely pursuing true love, and she's right. If she were to have the CEO's child, a wealthy family like that would surely give her a huge sum of money. Even if they couldn't marry her, she and the child would live in luxury, enjoying fine food, a mansion, and luxury cars for life. Who knows, maybe her child could even inherit the family fortune someday. Isn't that how it always plays out in the TV dramas? My mother was taken aback, but my sister-in-law gave me an appreciative glance. My sister-in-law has a good eye. I'll leave this matter in your hands then. My mother tried to dissuade my sister-in-law with concern. 10 babies in one pregnancy, wouldn't that burst your belly open? Xiaomeng, if you really want to bear the CEO a son, 1 or 2 babies would be more than enough. My sister-in-law snapped impatiently. What do you know? In those novels, wealthy families always say the more sons, the more blessings. Besides, with each additional child I have, I'll get a larger share of the family fortune later on. If I'm lucky enough that one of these 10 sons inherits the CEO's empire, I'll be living the high life as a wealthy matriarch in my old age. She was happily lost in her Cinderella fantasy, but harsh reality soon brought her back down to earth. It turned out that for the past 6 months, completely obsessed with those CO single mom romance novels, she'd blown my brother's entire 500,000 yuan death compensation on plastic surgery, gym memberships, and luxury cosmetics. All to make some fictional tycoon fall for her at first sight. My sister-in-law wants to use some personal items she found to get pregnant with a dragon baby and have 10 adorable children all at once, but after consulting at a shady clinic, she found out that each procedure costs 50,000 yuan, so 10 would be 500,000. She couldn't come up with the money, so she came running to me. Clara, you're the only one who can help me now. Lend me 500,000 first, and once the baby is born, I'll take them back to the wealthy family to claim their heritage. I'll pay you back double then. I was taken aback when my sister-in-law immediately asked for 500,000 yuan. With a troubled expression, I said, I'm just a junior nurse who just started working, earning a little over 2,000 yuan a month. How could I possibly lend you 500,000? My sister-in-law's eyes darted around, and she whispered, if you don't have the money, you could take out a mortgage loan. I've looked into it. Our old house is in a great location. With a mortgage, you could get at least 1 million. Then we'll use 500,000 for having the baby, and the other 500,000 will cover my maternity expenses. Once my son is recognized by his father, the CEO, not only 1 million, I could even come up with 10 million. I never imagined my sister-in-law would have the audacity to set her sights on our parents' house. I was shaking with rage. Miranda, are you even hearing yourself? You're having another man's child. Yet you expect my family to take out loans to fund you. My sister-in-law curled her lip. And you call yourself a college graduate? You can't even do simple math. Invest 500,000 in me now. Once my son is recognized by his CEO father, worst case scenario, I'll pay you back 5 million. I didn't even think twice before refusing. No way. This is our family's only home. If we mortgage it and you can't repay the loan, the bank will take the house. Where would my parents live then? Seeing I wouldn't budge, my sister-in-law pointed at my face and yelled, you short-sighted coward. No wonder you're stuck with that pathetic 2,800 yuan salary for life. If you don't help me now, don't even think about getting any favors from us when my son's rich father comes to claim him. Not a single one of you will get to bask in his glory. Too, I thought my sister-in-law would give up on this ridiculous plan once she couldn't get the money, but before I even got off work, my mom called. Clara, come home quick. Your sister-in-law is making a scene at your brother's grave. She says if we don't mortgage the house and lend her 1 million, she'll slit her wrists right here in front of his tombstone. What are we supposed to do? I rushed to the cemetery where my brother was buried, and sure enough, my sister-in-law was holding a fruit knife against her wrist. The moment she saw me, she made a cut on her wrist. The blood nearly dripped onto my brother's headstone, and my parents and I were beside ourselves with fury back in my hometown. There's a tradition that after a family member is buried, their fresh grave must not be tainted with human blood for 100 days, otherwise, the deceased won't be able to reincarnate and will be reborn as livestock in the next life. My sister-in-law is using my brother to pressure us. My parents almost knelt down to beg her. I quickly said to her, sis, come down first. It's just 500,000, right? I'll help you figure something out. I took my sister-in-law to see my childhood friend Kevin, who works at a private lending company. Kevin was often abused by his father as a child. Whenever he got beaten, my parents would take him in. You could say they saved his life. As soon as we walked in, I frantically signaled him with my eyes. Kevin made a show of taking our property deed, fiddled around on the computer for a bit, then said to my sister-in-law with a regretful expression, this property has already been mortgaged once, and the loan hasn't been fully repaid yet. It can't be used for a second mortgage. My sister-in-law grew anxious and said, how is that possible? My in-laws bought this house outright with cash. I immediately feigned shame and confessed, sis, given the circumstances, we can't keep this from you any longer. Truth is, the 280,000 yuan bride price we gave your family back then was from a loan mom and dad took out by mortgaging the house. My sister-in-law yelled furiously, how could you marry if you had no money? Wait, don't tell me you expect me to help pay off that loan. Let me make this clear. Clara, your brother is dead, by all rights. I'm no longer part of this family. The loan your family took out has absolutely nothing to do with me. Don't even think about making me pay off your debts. I pretended to be wronged, covering my face as I cried. Kevin immediately handed his business card to my sister-in-law and enthusiastically started promoting the company's credit loans. Sis, I just checked your bank statements. Your credit score is really high. With your situation, you could actually qualify for a credit loan even without owning a property. My sister-in law's anger turned to delight. Really, what's the maximum I can borrow? Kevin replied, as long as it's under 1 million, I can arrange any amount you need. Her eyes darted thoughtfully before she pulled me over by the arm. Manager Kevin, could you check how much my sister-in-law here qualifies for? She graduated from a top university and works as a nurse at the maternity hospital with a stable job. She must qualify for a higher loan than I do. Why don't we use my sister-in-law's credit to help with the mortgage instead? I struggled to break free. Why should I? It's not like I'm the one who wants IVF, my sister-in-law retorted, because I've stayed faithful to your brother's memory, because he died so young without even leaving me a single child. Then she started wailing and slapping her thighs. My life is so miserable. My husband was gone so young. I never asked much from your family. Just wanted to borrow some money to have a few children of my own, and even that you refuse. I can see you're determined to leave me childless and let your brother's lineage die out. Fuming, I pointed at my sister-in-law and yelled, "No one's stopping you from remarrying. You're the one clinging to our family, making a scene, insisting on staying a widow for my brother." Hearing this, my sister-in-law plopped down on the ground, slapping her thighs as she started cursing. The onlookers whispered and pointed, and a few elderly folks tried to reason with me. "Young lady, your sister in-law wants to take out a loan to have a child to carry on your brother's bloodline. Logically, the money should come from your family's side." "Exactly, your brother's gone, and not only did your sister-in-law remain faithful to his memory, she even bore him a son to carry on the family line. Where else would you find such a devoted daughter-in-law?" Hearing everyone's support, my sister-in-law flashed a smug smile. But she had no idea I wasn't the same pushover sister-in-law from my past life. I immediately pulled out the video I'd secretly recorded at home earlier. In the video, my sister-in-law is holding a Ziploc bag containing a used personal item. Then her smug voice chimes in, bragging about how she bribed a hotel front desk colleague with a cup of bubble tea to find out which room the CEO was staying in. As soon as the CEO checked out, she rushed into the room and retrieved his used personal item from the trash can. In the video, she unabashedly orders me to use my hospital position to help create 10 test tube babies so she can bear 10 heirs for the billionaire CEO. At this point, the onlookers couldn't hold back any longer, pointing at the sister-in-law and unleashing a torrent of abuse. "How shameless can you be? You want to have a baby with some man on the side, and you expect your in-laws to pay for it." This woman is seriously disturbed. She actually stole someone's used personal items. That's just disgusting. That CEO staying at the hotel is so unlucky to suddenly find out he has 10 children out of nowhere. How terrifying. I bet she's just trying to extort a huge sum from the CEO by using the child as leverage. How shameless. As the crowd hurled insults, my sister-in-law's face turned pale then flushed with anger, yet she couldn't bring herself to give up this loan opportunity. Reluctantly, she pulled her ID from her bag, signed the paperwork, and took out a $900,000 loan in one go. With the money in hand, she didn't hesitate for a second, hailed a cab and went straight to the underground clinic. 3. As she was leaving, she smugly told me, "I borrowed this money with my own skills. It's not from your family. When I marry into wealth by virtue of my child, don't you dare come looking for favors." I smiled and said to my sister-in-law, "Well then, I wish you all the best. May you get 10 babies in one birth and marry into a wealthy family soon." But I wonder if my sister-in-law can handle the blessing of 10 babies at once. I can't help but look forward to it. I saw my sister-in-law again at the maternity hospital where I work. She had come for a prenatal checkup. In this lifetime, without me standing in her way, my sister-in-law, who's obsessed with con baby romance novels, actually took out loans and went to an illegal clinic to get pregnant with 10 babies at once. Most women can't even handle quadruplets, let alone a pregnancy with 10 babies. During the ultrasound, the doctor was horrified to see 10 tiny lives densely packed in my sister-in-law's womb. He immediately recommended fetal reduction to prevent life-threatening risks later in the pregnancy. Hearing this, my sister-in-law grew anxious and asked, "If we proceed with the reduction, can we just remove the female fetuses and keep the males?" The doctor replied sternly, "That's not possible. Fetal reduction only decreases the number of fetuses. We cannot determine their genders." My sister-in-law immediately shielded her belly and declared, "Then I won't do it. I'm carrying the biological child of a billionaire CEO. If it's a boy, he'll inherit a fortune worth hundreds of billions." The doctor continued to persuade my sister-in-law, "Carrying 10 babies at once is extremely dangerous for both the mother and the fetuses. There's a constant risk of miscarriage or even severe hemorrhage. If we don't reduce the number of fetuses, we might not be able to save either you or the babies." My sister-in-law snorted coldly, as if she had uncovered the truth. Pointing her finger at the doctor's face, she yelled, "I get it now. You're deliberately lying to me about not being able to carry 10 babies, just to trick me into reducing the fetuses. Then you plan to sell mine and the CEO's babies to those fertility agencies, right? Everyone, come quick and see. This unscrupulous hospital wants to abort my children just to make money. Do you know how much a single egg can sell for these days? For someone young and beautiful like me, a healthy egg can fetch up to 100,000 yuan. I've got 10 babies in my belly. That's $1 million right there. You tricked me into reducing the number of fetuses on purpose. I bet you just want to steal my babies and sell them." At her outburst, the doctors fell silent, too intimidated to offer any more advice. Emboldened by their silence, She seized the opportunity to hand out business cards to young couples there for premarital checkups, advising them, with modern medicine being so advanced, if you want multiple children, there's no need to go through pregnancy one baby at a time. Just like me, spend some extra money to make a few more little ones and pop them right in. Whether it's triplets or septuplets, you can have as many as you want implanted. If any of you are interested, my number's on the card. I can help you find the right clinic when you're ready. She then shot us a dirty look and said with sarcasm, "Don't believe these quacks. They talk a good game about reducing the number of embryos and having them one at a time, but it's all just a scheme to squeeze more money out of us with multiple procedures. These days, from prenatal care all the way to a C-section, hospitals make at least over $100,000 off every single birth." When I saw people actually considering multiple embryo implantation after hearing my sister-in-law's advice, I immediately called security to escort her out after that day. Probably fearing our hospital would recommend selective reduction, she never came back for prenatal checkups, but I knew she'd be back eventually. Sure enough, 3 months later, an ambulance brought my drenched in sweat sister-in-law to our hospital with 10 fetuses in her womb. My sister-in-law was barely 6 months pregnant, yet her belly was alarmingly huge. Her swollen belly was crisscrossed with stretch marks, taut as an overinflated balloon ready to burst at any moment. Drenched in sweat and clutching her abdomen in agony, she yelled at the nanny she'd hired, "Tell the hospital I want all 10 babies, no selective reduction. I won't sign any consent forms. If anyone dares touch my sons, their CEO father will sue them into oblivion." The doctor snapped furiously, "We're not trying to reduce your pregnancy. You have placental abruption and polyhydramnios. One of the fetuses already has the umbilical cord wrapped around its neck. If we delay any longer, all 10 of your babies could suffocate at any moment. None of them would survive, and your own life would be at risk. We must perform an emergency C-section now." Upon hearing that she needed an immediate C-section, my sister-in-law struggled to raise her arm and slapped the doctor hard across the face. "How dare you? I refuse to have the C-section now. My babies are only 6 months along. What if they can't survive if delivered this early? Listen carefully. I'm carrying the biological heir of a billionaire CEO. If you dare perform a C-section and harm my son, I swear I'll haunt you from beyond the grave." But with lives hanging in the balance, even after being slapped by the patient's sister-in-law, the doctor professionally explained to the nanny, "The mother's condition is critical. She could hemorrhage at any moment, risking both her and the baby's lives. Contact the family immediately. Ideally, her husband should come in person." The nanny froze on the spot. I don't know who her husband is. She's not even married. How could she have a husband?" I rushed over and explained the situation to the doctor. When the doctor learned that the woman wasn't actually the billionaire CEO's wife, but had stolen his personal items from a hotel stay and paid to have 10 babies using them, he was completely speechless. "If she's your sister-in-law, you must have her family's contact number, right? For a life is at stake. Call them immediately and have her family members come to sign the consent forms." Out of respect for my brother, I ended up calling my sister-in-law's parents a short while later. My sister-in-law's parents showed up along with my brother and his wife. The moment they arrived, her parents immediately tried to pin the blame on our family. "My poor daughter, did his family pressure you into having a child? How wonderful. You're here breaking your back to give their family children. And what do? They all hide like turtles in their shells, and actually call us to come sign papers and pay the bills. This child isn't even from our family. Why on earth should we pay?" I cut off the dirty water my sister-in-law's parents were spewing. "Sorry to say, but the child your daughter is carrying isn't my brother's." My sister-in-law shot me a hateful glare, then turned to our parents, my brother, and his wife with a smug, triumphant look and boasted, "I'm carrying the firstborn grandson of a billionaire dynasty. Let me tell you, if I can deliver this baby safely, my son will be the heir to their billion-dollar fortune." What? My new son-in-law is a billionaire CEO. My sister-in-law's parents were so excited they nearly jumped out of their seats. My sister-in-law smiled through the pain, looking smug. "Not yet, but once I give birth to their firstborn grandson, they'll have to give me a proper wedding, even if it's just to legitimize this child. Since you're here, I'll give you a chance to prove yourselves. When the hospital asks you to sign anything later, you must refuse no matter what. Is that clear? Only by protecting the child in my womb can we secure our family's prosperity for generations to come. Do you understand?" My sister-in-law's parents nodded repeatedly with excitement. The moment my sister-in-law's eldest brother and his wife thought about the billionaire family's fortune, they immediately tore the surgical consent form brought by the nurse to shreds. My sister-in-law's parents also summoned me and demanded that I get the best doctor in the hospital to save her pregnancy. If this were me in a past life, I would have earnestly pleaded with my sister-in-law's family to sign the consent form for the surgery immediately. After all, they could have another child, but my sister-in-law only has one life. But in this life, I've decided to let others follow their own path. I nodded with a smile. Hospitals always respect patients' wishes, as long as the family doesn't consent. No doctor would force a C-section on your sister-in-law against your will. Hearing this, her eyes darted nervously before she suddenly grabbed my arm. Clara, you're a top medical school graduate. Tell me the truth. If I resist the C-section and continue bed rest, can I really keep all 10 babies safe? Seeing the calculation in her eyes, I knew no matter what I said today, the slightest disappointment would make her pin the blame on me later. Just as my sister-in-law was about to pin the blame on me again, a brilliant idea suddenly struck me. Sis, our hospital's resources are limited, and it just so happens that our two best doctors for preventing miscarriages are away for training. If you stay here and something happens to the baby, how will you ever leverage motherhood to marry into a wealthy family? My sister-in-law immediately panicked. Then what should I do? I pulled out the shady clinic business card she had given me earlier and handed it back to her, whispering, "Why don't you go back to the person who helped you with the baby in the first place? I've heard those fertility specialists are incredibly well connected. They can even get top doctors from the provincial capital on board." Sis, with your condition, our hospital definitely can't guarantee a safe delivery. You should go to them right away. They specialize in helping wealthy clients with childbirth and preventing miscarriages. They're definitely more professional than we are in this area. A look of sudden understanding crossed my sister-in-law's face, followed by a contemptuous glance in my direction. I always knew you public hospital staff were just coasting along. None of you have any real expertise, but since you were honest with me, I'll let it slide this time and not file a complaint. With that, my sister-in-law immediately started making a scene, demanding to be discharged from the hospital. The doctor tried to reason with her again, as her condition was extremely critical. She could go into premature labor and suffer a massive hemorrhage at any moment. To everyone's surprise, her mother then threw herself on the floor, thrashing around and screaming obscenities. Someone, help, the hospital is in cahoots with human traffickers. My daughter gave birth to 10 babies at once. What an incredible blessing. But that wretched hospital insisted she was having a difficult delivery. I think they said that on purpose. Once she's in the operating room and they take the babies out, they'll probably claim they were stillborn from premature birth, then turn around and sell them to traffickers. The doctors were so harassed by my sister-in-law's family that they had no choice but to sign the discharge papers. Who knows what methods that shady clinic used, but they actually managed to help my sister-in-law carry the pregnancy to term that evening. I stumbled upon my sister-in-law's short video. In the clip, she was cradling her prominent baby bump while wearing flawless makeup, recounting her whirlwind romance with the heir to a billionaire fortune. According to her story, she portrayed herself as a beautiful young widow who had one passionate night with the wealthy heir at a hotel. After fleeing the scene, she soon discovered she was pregnant with his child, miraculously expecting 10 babies at once. At the end of the video, she boldly addressed the billionaire heir. "You may not remember me, but there's no denying we now have 10 children together. My dear CEO, the children and I are waiting for you to come bring us home." The video went absolutely viral, especially since the other person involved was the son of the country's wealthiest family. It quickly trended on social media, with numerous tabloid journalists sharing the post and tagging the heir directly. My sister-in-law would never have guessed that. Right now, I'm sitting face-to-face with the Yen Master, presenting the video I secretly recorded months ago. After watching the video, the Yen Master's eyes widened in disbelief, completely speechless with rage. This is slander, pure fabrication. I was in Europe negotiating projects 6 months ago. How could I possibly be in a hotel doing such things and carelessly leaving used personal items scattered around? Just as I suspected, someone from a prominent family like the Yen Master would never leave a mess. Even if the CEO were meeting his girlfriend at a hotel, he'd have the place thoroughly cleaned afterward, especially disposing of any used personal items properly. Otherwise, women like your sister-in-law, who are always scheming to secure their status by bearing a son, would have already given the CEO 100 heirs. How could it possibly be her turn? Seeing the Yen Master completely baffled, I kindly suggested, "Why not check the spending records on the bank cards under your name?" The Yen Master had no clue how many bank cards he even owned. Luckily, he's a top-tier VIP at the bank. After a few calls to the bank, we quickly identified the person who had impersonated the domineering CEO to book the hotel room that night. As it turns out, the person who checked into the hotel that night using the card and those cheap personal items wasn't the CEO at all. It was the housekeeper's son. That housekeeper is the caregiver I hired for my grandfather. Last year when the company was expanding into Africa, I worried my grandfather might need emergency funds, so I had my assistant open a separate card under my name with millions deposited in it. I never imagined the housekeeper would give that card to her son and cause such a mess. They won't get away with this. The Yen Master turned livid and immediately had His lawyer drafted a statement refuting the rumors. He also attached the secretly recorded video I provided and posted it online. The young master directly tagged my sister-in-law and the housekeeper's son who impersonated him to book a hotel room, telling them to prepare for a lawyer's letter. Terrified, my sister-in-law quickly deleted the video, but it was too late. The video had already been screen recorded and reposted by many onlookers and marketing accounts, with the comments section flooded with insults directed at my sister-in-law. "This is terrifying. I'm never taking my girlfriend to a hotel again. One careless moment and you could end up becoming a father without even realizing it. Is no one going to regulate this? If anyone can just pick up used personal items and use the genetic material inside for IVF, wouldn't society descend into chaos?" The real victims here are the 10 babies in this woman's womb. Their biological father won't acknowledge them. Their mother can't afford to raise them. Who knows if they'll end up abandoned? The 5-star hotel where the sister-in-law worked immediately issued a statement announcing her termination and their intention to pursue massive compensation for damage to the hotel's reputation. My sister-in-law completely panicked and started frantically calling me. By the time my sister-in-law called, I had already taken my parents to the airport by taxi. Given a second chance at life, I won't let anyone have the opportunity to harm me or my family again. After handing the video over to the young master, he gave me $1 million as a token of gratitude. With the money in hand, I immediately resigned from my job and started planning a world trip with my parents. Before setting off, I anonymously reported my sister-in-law and the illegal clinic that caused my death in my previous life to the police. But before leaving, I was curious to hear what my sister-in-law had to say to me. I answered the call, and my sister-in-law's furious shouting immediately blasted through the phone. "Clara, it was you, wasn't it? You're the one who secretly filmed me and gave the video to the young master." I nodded and admitted, "Yes, it was me. I was just trying to help you find the baby's real father sooner," my sister-in-law said through gritted teeth. "But the baby isn't the young master's at all. The person who checked into the hotel that night wasn't the young master. It was their housekeeper's son." "Clara, you're so clever. You figured everything out. Why didn't you warn me?" I let out a cold laugh. "I did warn you in my past life, but what did it get me in the end?" I smiled and retorted to my sister-in-law, "Did I force you to steal someone's used personal items, or did I force you to take out loans just to have a baby? You were never satisfied, dreaming of having 10 babies at once and rising in status through motherhood. Now that your fantasy has turned into a nightmare. How is any of this my fault?" My sister-in-law screamed hysterically over the phone. "Then why didn't you stop me?" "Because I've learned the saying, let go of the savior complex and respect others' choices. For my brother's sake, I'll give you one last warning. Even with aggressive interventions, carrying decuplets to term is nearly impossible. If you value your life, I urge you to go to a proper public hospital immediately and terminate this pregnancy. You're on your own now." After saying that, I hung up and immediately blocked my sister-in-law. The last time I saw her was in a trending social news story. She died on the operating table of an illegal clinic. It turns out that the fertility clinic deceived my sister-in-law. They never had any groundbreaking fetal preservation technology to begin with. 6. By the time my sister-in-law transferred from our hospital to that illegal clinic, the baby had already suffocated from umbilical cord entanglement. The clinic lied about providing fetal preservation treatment. Instead, they administered expensive nutrient injections to prolong her pregnancy. Their real target was harvesting the umbilical cord blood from her unborn child. After all, wealthy terminally ill patients pay exorbitant sums for compatible cord blood. A successful match yields far greater profits than routine childbirth services. After finding a buyer, the illegal clinic lured my sister-in-law onto the operating table. They administered anesthesia and immediately cut open her terrifyingly large belly. I heard that when they sliced open her belly, 10 babies were crammed inside. Some weren't fully developed, their limbs hadn't properly formed. Even if born, they would have had congenital disabilities. What's more, the illegal clinic never intended for those 10 babies to survive. In their eyes, those unborn babies and my sister-in-law, a living, breathing person, were nothing but commodities for profit. My sister-in-law died right there on the operating table, her final moments still filled with delusions of giving birth to 10 babies at once and marrying into a wealthy family. After receiving my tip-off, the police raided and shut down that illegal clinic overnight. Unfortunately, by the time they arrived, my sister-in-law had already stopped breathing. Her parents and my brother had been waiting for her to deliver the CEO's 10 sons, banking on her using the children to secure status and marry into extreme wealth. It turns out my sister-in-law had mistaken someone else that day. What she stole from the hotel room wasn't the CEO's personal item at all. The 10 babies she went into massive debt to conceive weren't fathered by some billionaire tycoon, but by the housekeeper's son. When her parents and siblings realized there was nothing to gain and they might even be stuck repaying her loans, they vanished without a word, abandoning even her remains. The police had no choice but to call my parents instead, out of respect for my brother. My parents had offered to cover the funeral costs for my sister-in-law, but right after we returned, the police handed us her phone. It turned out the police had found evidence of an attempted kidnapping case on her phone, and the person she was trying to kidnap was actually me. The money she borrowed from loan sharks wasn't nearly enough to cover the prenatal care for her 10 babies in one pregnancy. To protect the so-called CEO's precious child in her womb, she resorted to her old ways. Collaborating with a back alley clinic to stage a fake trafficking incident, they planned to kidnap me and take me to an illegal clinic, then exploit my advanced education by forcing me to be a surrogate for wealthy families. After seeing the chat logs between my sister-in-law and the kidnappers, my parents were shaking with rage and refused to handle her funeral arrangements. With no one to claim her body, the crematorium disposed of my sister-in-law's remains hastily. Her ashes were buried in a mass grave alongside other unclaimed remains. After my sister-in-law's death, I quit my hospital job and became a rant blogger. I dug up those CEO and baby romance novels my sister-in-law used to be obsessed with, and ruthlessly roasted these brain-dead CEO stories from a normal person's perspective, exposing how toxic they really are. My goal was to warn those daydreaming girls not to be fooled by the CEO allure and get caught up in those ridiculous pregnant runaway tropes that could ruin their lives. To my surprise, these rant videos went viral overnight. I became a famous short video critic online, with fans hailing me as the anti-love brain warrior. Through my actions, I've shown my followers and fans that women don't need to become breeding machines for CEOs. When we stand on our own feet and build our own strength, we can become CEOs ourselves. The end. Story 2, Chapter 1. In my past life, out of momentary kindness, I concealed news of the demon realm's holy maiden from our sect, yet half a year later, she transformed into the sect's beloved junior sister. Though I cultivated the righteous path of true affection, that junior sister falsely accused me of practicing the shameless path of dual cultivation, leading to my ostracization and death. Reborn once more, I chose the path of severing earthly attachments. Let's see if casting aside those grand worldly affections will make my life better. On the 3rd day of the 7th month, I rode my sword through the air like a streak of light to Qingxian sect. 2 monster cores still dangled at my waist. The 4th junior brother pulled me aside and whispered conspiratorially, "Senior sister, I heard the master just took in a new junior sister. Today's her initiation ceremony. Did you know about this?" The 4th junior brother grumbled with barely concealed jealousy. That girl can't even do anything right, yet she caught the master's eye immediately. Who knows what kind of love potion she slipped him? I snapped back to attention. 1. Did I truly get reborn? And of all days, it had to be when the demoness Seraphina was brought to Qingxian sect, yet she wasn't admitted as the demon realm's holy maiden, but rather as my junior sister, my master's direct disciple. 2 years ago, the demon realm suffered a crushing defeat in the great war against the cultivation world. Disciples from major sects were dispatched to hunt down remaining demonic remnants. I found the demon realm's holy maiden Seraphina in a dilapidated mountain temple. Covered in filth with tattered clothes, she still shared her moldy steamed bun with a starving beggar child. On our way back to the sect, my heart softened and I turned a blind eye to her escape. Later, I reported to the sect that no traces of demonic remnants were found, yet when I saw Seraphina again, she had become my junior sect sister. She won everyone's affection the moment she joined. I wanted to reveal her true identity to our master, yet my master didn't believe me, and even told Seraphina about it, so she began retaliating against me, turning everyone's affection for her into weapons against me. Later, she falsely accused me of secretly practicing the demonic arts of the joyous path. No matter how I pleaded my innocence, not a soul would believe me. With nothing but a forbidden charm she'd smuggled into the sect, Seraphina made those false accusations against me stick. The sect elders, disgraced by the scandal, personally executed me during the assembly, extinguishing my very soul before I could utter a word in my defense. My existence dissolved like morning mist. My last living sight was the collective gaze of my martial siblings, brimming with revulsion and contempt. Given the second chance at life, I refused to repeat the mistakes of my past. Senior sister, why the days? The 4th junior poked me. Let's go teach that new junior a lesson right now. I shot him a sidelong glance. Clearly, it was his own jealousy toward Seraphina driving this petty scheme, yet he had to drag me into it. In my past life, blinded by camaraderie, I accompanied him to see the new junior sister. Little did I expect him to blush crimson the moment he laid eyes on the delicate and alluring Seraphina. When our master questioned his sudden intrusion into the hall, he stammered that it was my idea to visit the junior sister. The master publicly reprimanded me because of this, and from then on, Seraphina began scheming to slander and target me. This time, I gently brushed off his hand that was tugging at my sleeve. Junior brother, I just returned from the mountain after dispelling a wave of demon beasts. I'm utterly exhausted, so I won't be joining you. If you wish to see junior sister, you may go ahead without me. I deliberately revealed the blood-stained crystal core at my waist. The fourth junior brother paused briefly before quickly composing himself. Understood, senior sister, please get some rest. This time, he didn't recklessly barge into the grand hall, seems without me as backup. He wasn't so impulsive after all. Chapter 2. Since I didn't go to the grand hall to meet Serafina this time, she didn't realize I was the senior disciple when we first met. She walked alongside her juniors, chatting and laughing as if they'd known each other for ages. They bumped into me head-on. Serafina looked at me with a flicker of surprise in her eyes, her whole demeanor turning guarded. She feared I might reveal her true identity to everyone. This is our Kunwa Peak senior disciple, Xena, the fourth junior brother reassured her. Though senior sister is strict and rigid, you needn't be so nervous, junior sister. Serafina curtsied timidly. Greetings, senior sister, senior brother, I'm fine. It's just senior sister's overwhelming presence that's hard to bear. Hello, junior sister. I forced down the overwhelming hatred churning within me, giving only a slight nod. Senior sister, our new junior is rather shy. Don't be so stern with her, fourth brother interjected. She's just arrived, unlike us old-timers. She can't handle the intensity you radiate. The surrounding disciples chimed in, pleading on her behalf, as if I were some irredeemable monster. I wasn't intentionally exuding any intimidating aura. The group exchanged doubtful glances, none believing my claim. My fourth junior cleared his throat. Senior sister, perhaps you've grown accustomed to it and can't sense it yourself. Just then, Serafina affectionately linked arms with me. Actually, we've met before. Senior sister, do you remember me? I studied her face, her eyes shimmered with an innocent radiance. No, I shook my head. This wasn't the right moment to expose Serafina's true identity. Is that so? She prompted deliberately. As a prodigious cultivator from the immortal sex with an extraordinary memory, senior sister must remember everyone she meets vividly. How else could she track down those demonic remnants? You flatter me, junior sister. Within the Qingxian sect, I've never been known for talent or memory. My spiritual roots are merely average, truly inferior among Qingxuan's gifted chief disciples. Precisely why I was the only chief disciple who returned empty-handed from that mission, yet managed to slip through unnoticed. Back then, I failed to track down those demonic remnants. A ripple of murmurs spread among my junior disciples. I knew they were dissatisfied with me as their senior sister. No matter how dutiful I was, they only saw me as inferior in talent compared to the head disciples of other peaks. They'd completely forgotten that my position as head disciple was only confirmed after our master consulted them. After secretly observing me with spiritual energy for a long while, Serafina finally spoke softly. Senior sister, you're being too hard on yourself. You're far more capable than you realize. Senior sister, to motivate myself, I've always looked up to you as my role model since long ago. You flatter me, junior sister. I'm heading to Liqin Peak's logistics department to collect the monthly necessities like elixirs and robes for all disciples. After exchanging greetings, I prepared to descend the mountain. Unexpectedly, a voice called out to stop me. If that's the case, senior sister, why don't you practice cultivation with us? I halted and turned toward the source of the voice. It was Gareth, the fifth junior disciple, hot-tempered and bull-headed. He stubbornly practiced cultivation techniques against our master's guidance, frequently causing chi deviation that required calming spirit pills to stabilize. In his previous life, he had been utterly smitten with Serafina and became one of her suitors. What do you mean? I asked knowingly. What I mean is, since you're well aware of your mediocre talent compared to other head disciples, why slack off instead of training with everyone? Others kept signaling him to stop during his speech, yet no one actually intervened. They all wanted an explanation from me. You want an explanation? Is that it? A smirk played on my lips. Fifth brother makes an excellent point. In that case, I'll join today's training session with all of you. Gareth froze in shock while the others exchanged bewildered glances. Leading the way, I urged them onward. Hurry up now. We mustn't keep the master waiting. Chapter 3. The master's lesson today focused on the 10,000 swords unification technique. What's this? Though I'd mastered this technique thoroughly, I lazily demonstrated it anyway. Countless sword gleams instantly fanned out like chilling starlight across the sky, radiating terrifying power. Gareth stared at me in shock. He glanced at the sky, gritted his teeth, and ignored his master's warnings, stubbornly executing the technique his own way, convinced it would produce more sword shadows. The next moment, his spiritual energy went haywire, and he spat blood. The master wasn't the least bit surprised. Don't move, swallow this chi-stabilizing pill now. Gareth fumbled at his waist, then flushed with embarrassment. What's the matter? Any further delay will worsen your internal injuries, the master said sternly. Master, I've run Out of pingling pills. What? Every disciple collects their monthly pingling pills from Leeching Peak. Why don't you have yours? Seeing Gareth's face flush crimson with distress, he scanned the crowd anxiously. Anyone? Do you have any on you? Give it to Gareth now. The group shook their heads in unison. All gone. The master urgently sent a mental message to the nearest Seasong Peak for a calming pill, but it arrived too late. Despite the master's vigilant care, Gareth's spiritual energy had already raged through his meridians, destroying over half his cultivation. Why didn't you replenish when you ran out? The master's eyes blazed with fury. Without calming pills to stabilize your energy and protect your meridians, you'll end up like Gareth. Losing your cultivation would be the least of your worries. Some might not even survive. Gareth was carried out for treatment, leaving the group in heavy silence. Please don't blame our junior disciples, Master. I broke the silence. The fault lies with me. I've always been the one retrieving medicines, weapons, and other supplies from Leeching Peak for Kunwa Peak. I returned late this month after hunting demonic beasts in the lowlands. I meant to collect them from Leeching Peak today, but junior brother Gareth insisted I shouldn't receive special treatment and should train with the others, so I postponed the task, my face clouded with sorrow. Who would have thought that neglecting to retrieve the pingling elixir would cause junior brother Gareth such suffering? Though I admitted my fault, no one present could find words to respond. After all, it was Gareth himself who had insisted on my coming. Preposterous, the master fumed. I thought you were here to oversee them today, not to join their training yourself. As the chief disciple, your mastery of the 10,000 swords unification technique must surpass mine by 1,000-fold, let alone these others. Why would they demand you to practice alongside us? Moreover, he addressed the crowd. In all my years teaching across the other peaks, I've never heard of disciples needing their chief disciple to collect supplies that should be retrieved personally. The crowd hung their heads in shame first. They realized that even if I lagged behind other chief disciples, I still outmatched these ordinary disciples by an immeasurable margin. The second reason was getting scolded by our master. The master angrily dismissed the training session, and soon several disciples came to apologize to me. Senior sister, we're sorry. We never realized how much you've quietly done for us, and yet we treated you like this. It's all right. I smiled gently, but after this incident, you'll have to collect your own supplies from now on. Their faces stiffened. Senior sister, we've never been there before. It's unfamiliar territory. We're afraid of making mistakes. Don't worry. Leeching Peak has strict protocols, and the disciples are very responsible. If anything's amiss, you can always go back to clarify with them. Senior sister, we don't even know what supplies to collect each month, let alone the quantities. Don't worry, just follow the disciples from other peaks, take whatever they take. After I addressed everyone's questions one by one, they had no choice but to stop asking. The crowd dispersed in small groups, though I was leading the way. I turned back upon remembering I'd forgotten to retrieve my sword. Unexpectedly, I overheard Seraphina murmuring softly to others, "Is this the senior sister's true nature? She seems nothing like the serene figure from the rumors." The crowd that had stopped discussing me suddenly started talking about me again. In that case, she's changed quite a lot. Despite her obvious talent, she deliberately held back, which ended up provoking Senior Gareth into losing his composure and getting into this mess. Wait, she was hiding her abilities on purpose? Absolutely. Did you see how high and mighty she acted today? Honestly, if she hadn't kept us in the dark about having to collect the supplies ourselves, we wouldn't be so utterly clueless about the procedure now. Listening to their remarks about me, I smirked coldly and slipped past them unnoticed. Seraphina sensed my presence, tilting her head toward me as her smile deepened. So that's why our senior sister earned her position. There's real substance behind her title. Chapter 4. Master entered seclusion the day after Seraphina joined our sect, and only emerged half a month later. His first act upon leaving seclusion was to summon me and demand. I hear a Kunwa Peak disciple suffered internal injuries, clad in flowing white robes. Caden stood before me like an exiled celestial, ethereal, aloof, untouched by mortal concerns. Yet in our past life, it was this same man who became hopelessly infatuated with Seraphina. Swallowing her lies without question, he not only publicly assaulted me, denouncing me as a traitorous disciple, but also reported me to the sect elders, sealing my death warrant. I entrusted you with the stewardship of this mountain's disciples, and this is how you fulfill that duty. The overwhelming pressure forced me to my knees, leaving me powerless to rise. Lowering my gaze to conceal my hatred, I pleaded loudly, "Master, Xena has caused junior brother's cultivation to dissipate. Knowing my grave sin and betrayal of your trust, I beg to be sent to the Frost platform for penitence." The Frost platform's bitter cold is merciless, sealing all spiritual energy within. Only raw physical endurance can withstand its freezing torment. The Qingxian sect banishes its most errant disciples here as punishment, yet in truth, I'd committed no wrong. But Caden simply nodded. 3 months in confinement is punishment. I obediently went to the Frost platform. Little did they know, hidden within this icy platform lay the ancient treasure, the ruler's blade, which had already birthed a sword. Spirit, in my past life, Seraphina obtained the sword but never managed to awaken its dormant spirit. The moment I drew the sword, a cacophony of voices erupted in my ears. Finally awake after such a long slumber, he took one look and declared, "This girl has exceptional spiritual roots and fortuitous destiny. She's perfect for cultivating the path of severed affections." I narrowed my eyes. "Yet everyone insists I'm better suited for the path of profound bonds." "Bullshit," he gestured wildly. "Don't listen to them, just follow me in cultivating the path of emotionless ascension." "All right," I nodded under his astonished gaze. "Wait, how could you agree so easily?" "Because," I smiled faintly, "I've wanted to walk the emotionless path for a long time now. Cultivators choose their path of arcane arts upon reaching the nascent soul stage, with each discipline requiring distinct cultivation methods. In my past life, both Master Caden and my fellow disciples praised my responsible nature and gentle temperament, deeming me perfect for the path of righteous affection. A doctrine valuing loyalty and moral purity. Following their advice, I obediently embraced the path of righteous affection. Little did I know that when Seraphina framed me, I'd hear them say, "I knew it, her kindness was just for show. There's no way she's truly selfless." As expected, she's chosen the path of dual cultivation after all, a disciple of our immortal sect choosing the path of dual cultivation. Even the demon realm scorns such practices. If this gets out, our Kunwa peak will become the laughingstock of the cultivation world. A woman choosing dual cultivation, isn't that just offering herself as a cauldron for others? Some even dared to suggest I'd long been possessed by the demon realm's holy maiden, that my soul had been replaced. So be it. In this lifetime, I shall walk the path of severed affections, forsaking love and desire. Under the sword spirit's guidance, my cultivation advanced at astonishing speed, progressing from early nascent soul to late spirit transformation. In mere moments, late-stage golden core cultivation may be unremarkable among peers, but reaching late-stage nascent soul undoubtedly makes one exceptional. It's the speed of your breakthrough that's remarkable. The sword spirit remarked, "You possess greater talent for the emotionless path than I anticipated." He grumbled discontentedly, "Those people only had you cultivate techniques related to the path of righteous affection. What a waste of your exceptional talent." As my cultivation advanced, and I mastered the techniques taught by the sword spirit, I gained the ability to peer into others' thoughts, provided their cultivation level was beneath mine. When the 3-month period concluded, I emerged from the ice platform with the ruler sword and its spirit. To everyone's surprise, Seraphina had gained considerable influence on Kunwa Peak in just a matter of weeks. Rumor has it she's exceptionally gifted, reaching the golden core realm within mere months of joining the sect. The ease of her advancement left the entire sect astonished. What a joke. As the demon realm's holy maiden with nearly a century of cultivation, she'd merely been concealing her true power. Of course it was effortless. My private courtyard residence on the peak was given to her by Caden. The Didnt sword, rightfully belonging to Kunwa Peak's chief disciple, was bestowed upon her by Caden. When we met again, everyone treated me with indifference while fawning over her. She and the others blocked Caden's chamber entrance, refusing to let me see him. If Master isn't cultivating, how could my entry possibly disturb him? Seraphina bit her lip, eyes glistening. "Senior sister, the Master is resting. He's been exhausted lately, just returned from subduing 2 demonic beasts outside the sect. This rare moment of respite is hard won." "Oh, but I heard those 2 beasts were stragglers from the demonic tide I pacified last time. Has our revered Master grown so feeble?" Seraphina's face paled. "Senior sister, please don't speak like this." The crowd erupted in righteous indignation, rallying to her defense. "Elder sister, that was uncalled for. You're not just slandering our master, but deliberately humiliating our junior sister." A glint of triumph flashed in Seraphina's eyes, though her face wore a dejected expression. "Please don't speak of elder sister like that. She's simply too eager to see our revered master. That's why her words came out harsh. Elder sister, whatever business you have with our master, you may discuss it with me instead." "Oh," I let out a cold laugh. "I've no particular business with our master. I merely wish to ask why my residence and sword were transferred to you without my knowledge." "Senior sister," she stared at me in disbelief, then seemed to steel herself with sudden resolve. "Senior sister, Master didn't offer me those things. I asked for them myself. Please don't blame him. If you want them back, I'll return everything right now." Her voice trembled with unshed tears by the end. "Xena, you've gone too far." My 7th junior sister stepped between us. "You're just jealous that our youngest sister has earned Master's favor. If you've got the nerve, take it up with Master instead of bullying her here." "What kind of senior sister bullies her juniors like this?" The crowd chimed in. "She's been throwing her weight around just because of her status, putting on airs and bossing everyone around. How dare she call herself our senior sister?" Seraphina narrowed her eyes, watching the scene with satisfaction, though my own juniors, whom I'd personally mentored, united to drive me away. My heart remained utterly calm. This outcome was exactly as I'd anticipated, no different from their attitude toward me in my past life. The only difference was my own failure to see their true nature clearly back then. All day long, I either focus on my own cultivation and demon-slaying missions, or guide their training and tend to their daily needs on Kanwa Peak, only to be met with their snide remark about me putting on airs. That's why I say you're perfect for the path of severing emotions, the sword spirit mused lazily, disliked by all, free from attachments, pitiful as it is, it'll only make you stronger. With no shelter left, I had to circle the mountain slopes, searching for a suitable spot to build a humble thatched hut. Little did I expect to accidentally witness Seraphina and Caden's intimate moment. Caden's usually stern expression softened as he gazed down at Seraphina. "How have you been settling in lately, Master?" Seraphina replied, "I've been getting along well with my senior disciples, though." Caden's brows furrowed slightly. "Speak freely, no need for hesitation." Seraphina nodded. "I just think you should return the temporary management of the peak affairs to senior sister." "What did she say to you?" The senior disciple said nothing, but, "Don't worry, Seraphina. With me here, she wouldn't dare make waves, but everything I have now rightfully belongs to the senior disciple, as the head disciple, and me being new to the sect, I should follow her every word." Seraphina turned away with visible hesitation, as if completely oblivious to Caden's burning gaze behind her. Caden stared at her with infatuation. "You don't have to." "Don't have to what?" Seraphina spun around abruptly, locking eyes with Caden unexpectedly, her cheeks flushing crimson. Caden averted his gaze rather conspicuously. Ahem, he cleared his throat lightly. "In terms of innate talent, you've always ranked above Xena. Moreover, when I was merely in seclusion for half a month last time, that rebellious disciple allowed such an incident to befall our junior brother. Utter negligence of duty." "Ah," Seraphina exclaimed as if reading Caden's mind. "Master, you mustn't. Senior sister has always been devoted to Kanwa Peak. I believe she simply had a momentary lapse in judgment. No more, please. My decision is final." Caden reported to the sect and revoked my position as head disciple. In just a single day, I went from being the head disciple to the most marginal outer disciple on Kanwa Peak, not even worthy of carrying a sect token. Meanwhile, Seraphina ascended as Kanwa Peak's new head disciple. Caden put her in charge of selecting candidates for the sect's grand trials. I had no intention of participating, until I overheard Seraphina's conversation with other disciples. "Surely the senior sister will compete in the sect tournament. I'll go ask her right now." "Junior sister, she's been demoted to a regular disciple. What right does she have to participate in the sect competition reserved only for elite disciples from each peak? After how she treated you, why still show her such deference? Senior sister never mistreated me. I'll go ask her myself." Feigning accidental disclosure before the crowd, she said, "The master mentioned, if senior sister remains at Golden Core Realm, she shouldn't embarrass herself by attending the sect competition." Someone snickered. "Even the master knows she'd make a fool of herself." My gaze fell upon the altered enchantment bell at Seraphina's waist, a signature artifact of demonic cultivators who practice the path of dual cultivation. I wouldn't have recognized it either, had I not crammed demonic lore for days while tracking the remnants of the demonic realm. In her previous life, Seraphina hadn't been this audacious, daring to display it so openly at her hip. "Who said I'm merely at the Golden Core stage?" She invoked Caden's authority. "The master said so. The Golden Core stage was 2 years ago. Shows how little Caden cares about me." "He's wrong," a disciple asked. "You claim our master is mistaken. Where's your proof?" Without explanation, I simply turned to Seraphina and said, "I'm entering the tournament. Add my name to the list." She smiled. "As you wish, senior sister." Just then, a sudden anomaly erupted. My Qixing sword leapt unbidden from its sheath, circling midair with an aura of deadly intent. My spirit resonated with the sword's consciousness. "You've been humiliated enough. Let me restore your dignity." Watching the eager sword spirit, I chose not to point out the predatory gleam in Seraphina's eyes. Her eyes were locked onto the hovering ruler sword, her face alight with fanatical determination. The sword spirit demonstrated my skills before the crowd, and my sheer prowess silenced all doubts about my qualification for the trial. Yet at the same time, Seraphina began questioning my methods. That day, she stood before my humble hut with her entourage and demanded, "Senior sister, the master demands to know how your cultivation advanced so rapidly." "I don't know," I shrugged innocently. "They say the path of dual cultivation and siphoning spiritual energy from others can accelerate one's progress. Maybe I've been practicing it without realizing. These past 2 days, I've advanced another realm and reached the ethereal void stage. Now I can even glimpse into Seraphina's innermost thoughts. The moment she arrived, I knew she intended to recreate her false accusations from our past life. though this time, it wouldn't be through accidental discovery. She plans to publicly cement the narrative that I practice the path of dual cultivation. Seeing me voice her innermost thoughts directly, she momentarily panicked, but the next instant, she regained composure. Senior sister, why bring up the path of dual cultivation out of nowhere? Cultivators are forbidden from practicing it. Have you forgotten? No way. Did Xena really resort to such heretical methods just to reclaim her position as head disciple? Wouldn't put it past her. I can totally see her doing this. Seraphina maintained a formal tone. Senior sister, if you've truly practiced the path of dual cultivation, I must escort you to face our master. Yet inwardly she thought, with the bewitching bell planted on her and my former allies coordinated, she won't escape this time no matter what. Stripped of her head disciple status, Caden can deal with her without restraint. Chapter 5. I was just about to find our master. I nodded, pulling a charm bell from my storage pouch. I found this on Kanwa Peak. I raised the charm bell high. Junior disciples may not know. This is called a charm bell. It's a magical artifact used by pleasure cultivators in the demon realm. Seraphina's pupils dilated. How did you find this? I visited Lichin Peak this morning and found it at the base on my way back. I urged her, enough of this, come with me to find Master immediately. The Demon Realm's enchantment bell was discovered at Kanwa Peak. This is no trivial matter, Seraphina thought suspiciously. Has she uncovered something? Recognizing the gravity of the situation, the group followed Seraphina to seek out Caden. Along the way, Seraphina repeatedly volunteered to safeguard the enchantment bell as evidence, attempting covert substitution. Each time I firmly refused. Junior sister isn't familiar with this bewitching bell. It's more appropriate for me to safeguard it. Caden was in the middle of discussions with other peak lords when the noisy crowd arrived, his face darkening with displeasure. His gaze fell on me amidst the crowd. Rebellious disciple, whatever grievances you hold against me, this is hardly the time for such interruptions. Master, you wrong me. I brandished the bewitching bell and cried out. This disciple found a demonic artifact, the bewitching bell, on Kanwa Peak, fearing demonic remnants may have infiltrated. I rushed to report this urgent matter. At these words, even the other peak masters grew intrigued. Let her finish. If demonic remnants have truly infiltrated our sect, we must conduct thorough investigations immediately. I recited the title documenting the enchantment bell's origins, and soon someone retrieved the tome from the sect's archives. Upon comparison, the bell matched the book's illustration down to the last detail. Seraphina interjected, why bring up the path of dual cultivation and their enchantment bell now? Senior sister, just when Master questions your competence, all eyes turn to me with suspicion. Indeed, Caden narrowed his eyes. I've heard your cultivation has soared, and you've acquired a new magical sword. How exactly did this come about? Are you suspecting me, Master? With your mediocre talents before, how can I possibly believe you? I summoned the ruler sword, and the moment its oppressive aura manifested, the crowd gasped in awe. This blade came to me by chance when I quelled the demon beast tied below the mountain. A drop of my blood accidentally stained it, and thus it acknowledged me as its master. I also realized the path of righteous passion that our master so revered didn't suit my cultivation. After switching to the path of severed emotions, my comprehension soared and progress became rapid. Turns out I wasn't mediocre as our master claimed. It was simply that the path of righteous passion clashed with my innate constitution and temperament, making cultivation unbearably difficult. The moment these words were spoken, the gazes from the surrounding peak masters turned distinctly uneasy. As Caden's former head disciple, if he could be this negligent in guiding my cultivation, pushing me toward the incompatible path of righteous affection, how could anyone trust him to handle sect affairs seriously? Chapter 6. Caden's face darkened. Don't you dare spout nonsense. This sword is clearly no ordinary artifact. How could it possibly acknowledge you as its master? And don't tell me your cultivation has advanced much in less than half a year. At best, you've barely progressed from late-stage golden core to early-stage nascent soul. A few minor breakthroughs and you're already this arrogant. You overestimate yourself. His words aligned perfectly with my intentions. I flashed a radiant smile. Master, are you asking for proof? Then I unleashed my full spiritual pressure, causing the sword spirit to manifest. You've actually reached the void refinement stage. Is that a sword spirit, a living, breathing sword spirit? Good heavens, this woman is not to be trifled with. The sword spirit whirled through the air before the crowd to prove its authenticity, then spoke at just the right moment. Master, what is thy command? If Caden's expression was grim before, it had now turned downright thunderous. He appears aloof and detached, yet secretly craves external validation, never tolerating anyone surpassing him. Now he's merely at the late void refinement stage, while I've already reached early void refinement. This humiliation is unavoidable for him, Master. No need for further proof, I said with a smile. Our priority is locating the demonic remnants infiltrating Kanwa Peak. Let's focus on that first. Seraphina's expression turned icy, wary that I might expose her true identity. My gaze swept over her briefly before I looked away without a word. But I never expected Caden to declare, "This matter is not up for further discussion." I've erected wards around Kanwa Peak. Had any demonic remnants infiltrated, I would have sensed them immediately. This is just a false alarm. As for this enchantment bell, he summoned it from my hand with a flick of his wrist. It carries no demonic aura, likely not from the netherworld, probably just some disciple's accidental trinket. Why is there no demonic energy? Because Seraphina intended to fabricate the lie that I secretly fell into demonic cultivation. Naturally, I wouldn't possess the pure demonic energy required to leave traces, but that enchantment bell could have come from any disciple who quietly succumbed to demonic practices. The other peak lords had the same thought, but seeing Caden's protective expression, they exchanged knowing glances without voicing their suspicions. Watching Caden awkwardly holding the enchantment bell, I felt a growing unease and suspicion in my heart. Did he already know about Seraphina's witch identity, having demonstrated void refinement cultivation that far? Surpassed even the head disciples. I participated in the Sex Grand competition, but, though not the elite tournament for head disciples, just the regular disciple division. Since Seraphina, not I, was Kanwa Peak's head disciple, I naturally didn't qualify. After winning the regular disciple bracket, when receiving the sect master's rewards alongside Cedric, Tuzong Peak's victorious head disciple, he whispered, "With skills that could rival mine, why would you compete in the plebeian division?" Cedric, the unparalleled prodigy of the Qingxian sect, was overheard by the sect master as he spoke these words. "I recall you were once the head disciple. Your disciple no longer holds that position, Master." The sect master cast a fleeting glance at Seraphina, while Cedric remarked pointedly, "Nascent soul realm, no combat experience, seems to be holding back some lethal techniques. Truly worthy of being the top disciple of Qingxian sect. You spotted even this. Seraphina's ultimate technique involves the bewitching bell, but she's far too shrewd to reveal such a move recklessly. I've recently mastered a new invisibility technique. Unlike previous techniques that merely conceal physical form, this method also masks spiritual energy fluctuations and aura signatures in space. The invisibility spell, combined with last time's mind-reading technique, makes for perfect eavesdropping tools. Well, aren't the spells I taught you incredibly practical?" The sword spirit smirked smugly. "Yeah, what's with that face?" The sword spirit snapped defensively, though said in jest. "I've truly undergone many changes since practicing the emotionless path. My thoughts have grown sharper, my temperament more serene, and my cultivation more focused. This proves your natural affinity for the emotionless path," remarked the sword spirit. That day, seeing Caden emerge from Seraphina's quarters with fury written across his face, I couldn't resist casting an invisibility spell to follow him. Little did I expect to witness Caden entering the Elder's Hall of our sect. The man he met was none other than Elder Thorn, the very one who brought about my demise in our past life. With a flick of his sleeve, Thorn sealed all doors and windows, erecting an impenetrable barrier around the chamber. "I told you, I choose her and no one else," Caden shouted, his voice ragged with emotion. "Then choose no one," Thorn replied, sipping his tea. "I'd rather see you live in solitude than watch you fall. For that witch, how dare you? Weren't you just like..." Thorn suddenly stood up and slapped Caden. "I just don't want you to repeat my mistakes, you..." Caden stared at him intently. Caden suddenly knelt down. "Father, she's the one I truly love. I beg for your blessing." My heart trembled as I uncovered a staggering secret. Caden turned out to be Thorn's own flesh and blood. Not a whisper of this had ever reached the sect. Utterly unknown to all, Thorn's brow furrowed deeply, his teacup trembling slightly in hand. Caden cried out desperately, "Father." Thorn finally set aside his prejudice and sighed deeply. "But your path ahead will be fraught with hardship." "I'm not afraid." "Then tell me, what brings you here?" "There's a disciple on Kanwa Peak who holds a grudge against Seraphina. She's been targeting Seraphina repeatedly, and recently seems to have uncovered her true identity. I'm thinking we should eliminate her." My jaw dropped. So in my past life, my death had nothing to do with being falsely accused of practicing the pleasure path cultivation. It was because I'd learned the truth. Caden had wanted me dead all along. Thorn's beard quivered. "Your former head disciple, she was a prodigious talent, but she's wicked at heart." Caden spat venomously. Thorn remained silent for a long moment before finally saying, "Understood, you may leave." I followed Caden out, already formulating a preliminary plan in my mind. Chapter 7. After returning, I thoroughly investigated Thorn and Caden's backgrounds and finally uncovered a faint connection. Between them, Thorn had never left the sect since bringing back a child from the mountains 2 centuries ago. That child turned out to be Caden, but during my cultivation, I suddenly suffered a chi deviation, violating the binding oath of the ruler's blade, which then mysteriously vanished. The news spread like wildfire. The sect master came to see me in person and confirmed that I had indeed suffered a chi deviation. Shaking his head with pity, he said, "Your cultivation has regressed to the early nascent soul stage, with damaged meridians. The chances of you breaking through to the next realm are now slim." After that day, he never visited me again. Just like that, I fell from being the talk of the sect back to my old role as Kanwa Peak's resident outcast. I told you she was practicing some shady cultivation method. No wonder she suffered chi deviation so quickly. Remember how arrogant she was, flaunting her sword spirit. Now even the spirit has abandoned her. She made our junior sister cry with her scolding before. Seeing her get what she deserves now is so satisfying. I stepped forward with a cold laugh. "What are you all babbling about? Have you forgotten you're still stuck at the golden core stage? I could wipe you out with a flick of my wrist." The crowd froze in terror before scattering like startled birds. I returned to my thatched hut and fell into a deep slumber. A sudden oppressive presence invaded my dreams. I struggled awake, my mouth and nose already filled with blood. Thorn glared at me fiercely. "You actually woke up." I cast a counterspell. "What's the matter, old fool? Not happy to see me conscious?" Good, good, good." Hearing me call him old fool, Thorn repeated the word 3 times. "I'd considered sparing your life by erasing your memory, but now I see that won't be necessary." He unleashed a barrage of lethal strikes, and though I stood my ground, my cultivation had waned and I suffered from chi deviation. Soon I was overpowered, just as Thorn's palm strike was about to land on my chest. I shouted, "Wait, you can't kill me. I know about Seraphina and Caden's affair." He nodded coldly. "Then I have even more reason to end you, but I also know Seraphina's true purpose for infiltrating Kanwa Peak in disguise." Thorn's hand slowed, giving me the chance to dodge his palm strike. "She deceived Caden. She never came for him, but to seek the ancient relic. Because that ancient relic is none other than my Xingqi sword." Thorn finally gave up on the idea of killing me. He crouched down and asked, "How can I trust you?" I didn't know at first either, but ever since I went berserk, the spirit of the measuring sword suddenly started demanding to break our contract. Unwilling to let it go, I secretly followed it, and that's when I saw the measuring sword in Seraphina's hands. Seraphina was also talking to someone shrouded in dark demonic energy, saying that since she had obtained the measuring sword, and could use this fragment to revive the demon realm's revival array, she needed to find an excuse to leave Caden and descend the mountain. She doesn't like Caden at all. She just wanted the measuring sword to restore the demon realm. Impossible. Caden burst from the woods. "You're slandering Seraphina." With that, he lunged at me with his enchanted sword, poised to strike me down. At that critical moment, Thorn intercepted him. "Keep her alive. We can always execute her when the truth comes to light." "Father, Seraphina would never do such things." Thorn caught sight of my shocked expression and hissed, "Mind your manners. The truth will reveal itself soon enough." Seizing the moment, I cast a silent spell upon Thorn and Caden. Thorn and Caden dragged me to Seraphina's place, only to find her absent. Seraphina's been tied up with sect affairs these days. I sent her and other disciples down the mountain for a 2-day break. Caden sneered. "Where exactly did you see Seraphina?" I directed Thorn to press the hidden switch behind the vase, and suddenly a secret chamber appeared before us, murmuring voices leaking from within. Thorn fixed me with a piercing glare. "How did you know about this?" I scoffed coldly. "This used to be my home." The commotion at the secret chamber's entrance made the voices inside abruptly stop. When Thorn and Caden entered, only Seraphina remained inside. "Master, what brings you here?" Her cheeks flushed crimson. The path of dual cultivation. Caden, who had been stubbornly trying to persuade Thorn moments ago, now glared in fury. "What the hell are you doing?" "I was just cultivating here." Caden roughly seized Seraphina's wrist. "Cultivating? Was that what you were doing with me earlier too?" Caden was trembling violently. "Master, she's the one practicing the dual cultivation path." "Get lost." Caden shoved me away fiercely, in a fit of rage. Caden seized Seraphina by the throat. With a flick of her gaze, Seraphina unleashed a torrent of demonic energy that sent Caden reeling. Her expression turned bewitching, dripping with allure. "Since you already know, why waste words? Shameless wretch." Caden spat through clenched teeth. "How righteous," Seraphina sneered. "Weren't you enjoying yourself back then? So you infiltrated the Qingxin sect." Caden's face twisted with sorrow. "You didn't actually believe I came here for you, did you? Or that you'd ever saved my life?" Seraphina blew on her crimson lacquered nails. "What kind of savior hides away on Kanwa Peak all day?" Which, Thorn roared from the side, channeling magic toward Seraphina. The air rippled abruptly as a black-robed demonic cultivator tore through the void, calmly intercepting the lethal strike meant for Seraphina. With relentless attacks, he pressed forward, leaving Thorn utterly defenseless. Meanwhile, Caden stood dazed on the sidelines, oblivious to his so-called father lying on the ground. Barely clinging to life, Seraphina gazed down at Thorn, her Delicate brows furrowing. I know you. Wasn't it you who seduced and abandoned the last saintess, then stole her child? Thorn averted his gaze, his former arrogance completely gone. Do you have any idea how many lives the last saintess took to numb her broken heart? Seraphina nodded, her eyes shifting to Caden as if she'd understood something, but of course she didn't spare me either, drawing me into her palm. Eldest martial sister? Xena, with a sinister grin, she said, still pretending. You don't know me. I should thank you for your kindness. Without it, I wouldn't have survived my grievous wounds back then. As a token of gratitude, I'll leave your corpse intact. I pushed her away, smiling faintly. I appreciate the demon saintess's kindness, but ensuring my body remains intact isn't your concern. My aura surged, and my cultivation swiftly recovered to the mid-stage of the void refinement realm. With a flick of my wrist, the measuring sword returned to my side. I yelled skyward, Sect Master, I can handle Seraphina, but this black-robed man is beyond me. The sect master descended from the sky with his elders, all having mastered the sword spirit's concealment technique. Thorn gasped in shock. You're not, I chuckled. This unworthy disciple deceived the elders with ill intentions. The sect master bound the dejected Thorn and Caden with spirit binding ropes. Fight to your heart's content. Gain more combat experience. Forget it. I thrust my sword into Seraphina's heart. These are the only ones I'm after. News of Caden, Thorn, and Seraphina's capture spread, leaving the disciples of Kunwa Peak utterly shocked. With our master and junior sister gone, what are we supposed to do now? They wailed in despair. Figure it out yourselves. Can't you cultivate without them? Sneered a disciple from another peak. After Seraphina's so-called workload reduction campaign led Kunwa Peak disciples to skip multiple master's lectures, the entire peak gained notorious reputation for unruly, self-serving behavior when news broke that Peak Lord Caden had colluded with the Demon Realm Saintess and concealed her infiltration of the sect. Public contempt for Kunwa Peak reached new heights, but I was the exception, thanks to Cedric's propaganda. I'd already been branded as a persecuted prodigy. This operation to eliminate Caden's faction, the credit belongs to me first and foremost. This recognition came from both the sect master and the Elder Council. The adoration reached such heights that I had to sign spellbooks and write inspirational notes for eager fans whenever I stepped outside. When they saw my self-built thatched hat, they mercilessly criticized everyone else on Kunwa Peak except me. Former junior disciples came seeking my guidance, but I turned them all away. What I'm teaching you now is no different from before. You do well to review my previous lessons instead of coming back with questions, not that they'd ever ask. No one paid attention during my lectures in the first place, with no instructors willing to teach them. The Kunwa Peak disciples began disrupting other lectures in protest, demanding equal treatment. The instructors' patience finally ran out, and they reported the matter to the sect leader. The sect master exiled all Kunwa Peak disciples to the northernmost reaches of the continent, claiming it was a test of their abilities. Those who could find their way back would remain sect members, while those who failed would be expelled from the Qingxian sect. The fourth junior brother suddenly shouted, You're all birds of a feather, bewitched by Xena. How could our delicate junior sister possibly be the Demon Realm Saintess? And our master, he's clearly been framed. His words immediately garnered agreement from the other Kunwa Peak disciples. Exactly, Xena's the real witch here. She's clouded all your judgment. We've been at Kunwa Peak long enough to know right from wrong. Enough. The sect leader silenced the shouting disciple with a mute spell. She's the most gifted disciple our Qingxian sect has seen in a century. If your mouths can't speak truth, then keep them shut. The Kunwa Peak disciples fell into eternal silence. I'm thoroughly pleased. The sect master summoned me again for the Peak Lord's assembly, announcing that after collective deliberation, I've been chosen as Kunwa Peak's new lord, entrusted with selecting the next generation of disciples. What, are you unwilling? The sect master studied my expression. It's not that I'm unwilling, I pondered before asking, I just want to know how will Caden and Seraphina be dealt with? Execute them, the sect master said nonchalantly. Then why the delay? If you're unwilling, I'd gladly do it myself. They'll die, of course, the sect master soothed, sensing my irritation. But not yet. We plan to hold your Peak Lord inauguration ceremony in a few days, inviting cultivators from across the land. Thorn, Caden, and Seraphina will be publicly executed during the event. The sect master's expression turned icy. Let this serve as a warning to all. This is the fate awaiting those who collude with demonic remnants. Spread word that these remnants still seek to revive their fallen realm, which we've suppressed. Every sect must remain vigilant. Good. This plan was far more thorough and satisfying than anything I'd envisioned. On the day of the Peak Lord inauguration ceremony, I'd already broken through to the Unity realm. Many whispered I might become the first ascendant in a century. Gripping My Xingqi soared. I drank in the bitter resentment in Caden's eyes, pure exhilaration. I dangled Seraphina's corpse before his eyes, catching a flicker of anguish in his gaze. No matter what, she was your junior sister. You're a monster, a heartless monster. Indeed, I activated the forbidden technique, condemning him to endure every agony of this world before dying slowly, just like Seraphina. What can I say? The path of detachment chose me. How did you know? No need. Story 2. I bought a lottery ticket for my in-laws, but accidentally entered 2 wrong numbers. My in-laws said I was a jinx, causing the whole family to miss out on getting rich. My husband also pushed me down the stairs, and I broke my leg. But the next day, when the lottery was drawn, the ticket I bought by mistake actually won a jackpot of 10 million. My husband and in-laws collected the huge prize, but felt no guilt towards me. They threw the disabled me into the basement to fend for myself. Who would have known that the terrifying ice apocalypse would come the next day? For 3 consecutive months, the world was frozen, and I died of cold in the basement. When I opened my eyes, I was reborn to the time when I bought the lottery ticket. In this life, I want to sit around the fireplace eating barbecue, watching them slowly freeze to death. Miss, I'm sorry, but I made a mistake with one of the numbers on your lottery ticket. In the lottery shop, the owner said apologetically to me, holding the lottery ticket in my hand. A wave of unbelievable chill surged in my heart. The owner continued, I entered the order of the numbers you wanted incorrectly. Hearing that familiar voice, I couldn't help but hug my arms tightly. It was clearly the scorching summer, yet I felt a chill, a pain etched in my bones from a past life. I couldn't believe it. I had actually been reborn. In the family group chat, my father-in-law, mother-in-law, and my husband were constantly messaging, urging me to buy a lottery ticket. My father-in-law was very impatient. You worthless thing, you can't even give me a grandson. Hurry up and buy the lottery ticket back. Don't delay my chance to win big. My husband's tone was even harsher. Old hag, you've been out for so long. Are you fooling around outside? The mother-in-law is also scolding. Useless thing, don't forget to buy groceries when you come back. Do you want to starve us? Looking at the family group chat, a surge of anger rose in my heart. My in-laws are all lottery players. They love to buy lottery tickets and fantasize about getting rich overnight. In my previous life, they gave me a set of numbers and told me to go buy a lottery ticket. I forwarded it to the lottery shop owner, but the owner accidentally entered a few wrong numbers to save a few bucks. I didn't reprint the lottery ticket, but went along with the mistake and took the wrong ticket home unexpectedly. When my father-in-law saw that I bought the wrong lottery ticket, he exploded in anger, cursing me as a money-losing item and cutting off their chance to get rich. My husband also said I was unlucky and beat me until my head was bleeding. Afraid of being beaten to death, I hid in the stairwell outside. However, my mother-in-law pushed me down the stairs, causing me to break my leg. I never expected that the next day, the winning numbers would be announced. I accidentally bought the wrong lottery ticket, and it turned out to win $20 million. My in-laws were overjoyed and rushed to claim the prize, but after they claimed the prize and became rich, they felt no remorse for breaking my legs. They not only felt no remorse, but also because I had broken legs, they were afraid of the medical expenses and left me in the basement of the community to fend for myself. They would throw me a bowl of leftover food every day, like feeding a dog. I had planned to divorce them after I recovered, but I never expected the end of the world. Global temperatures rapidly dropped, within just a few days, from over 30 degrees to 10 degrees, 0 degrees, even minus 30 degrees. The whole world was frozen, turning into an icy world. They stopped bringing me food, and I, suffering from cold and hunger, eventually died in the basement. However, perhaps the heavens saw me as too pitiful, and I actually got a second chance at life. At this moment, there was less than a week left until the global freezing apocalypse. A flame rose in my heart. This time, I will take revenge. I will make them suffer, I said to the lottery store owner. Brother, it's okay if it's wrong. I want the wrong one too. I'll give you more money. You just print me another correct number. The correct lottery ticket goes to the in-laws. The wrong one will win the big prize. It's mine soon. The lottery ticket was printed. I took both lottery tickets, and as usual, I went to the vegetable market to buy some vegetables and cooked a meal for that family of villains. But this time, I didn't buy the food that could be stored for a long time, but instead specifically chose the cheapest and most perishable items. After all, they won't be able to eat for many days. When I got home, my father-in-law was in the study, researching the lottery numbers for the next draw. My husband was playing on the sofa, chatting with another woman. My mother-in-law was busy fiddling with her gold and silver jewelry. She always feels that money will depreciate, and that these pieces of jewelry are the most reliable. She has spent all her retirement money on these things, but she doesn't know that when the apocalypse comes, only food will be the most valuable. After I entered the room, my mother-in-law hurriedly put down her pendant, flustered as she packed it away. Afraid that I would snatch something, she said disdainfully, "Why are you back so late? Are you really out fooling around?" As soon as my husband heard this, he immediately lifted his foot and kicked me, shouting, "If you dare to fool around, I'll kill you." I endured the pain and stood up. Handing the lottery ticket to my father-in-law. Father-in-law, here is the lottery ticket you wanted. My father-in-law glanced at the lottery ticket, checked the numbers, and found that it was the correct number he had given me earlier. He nodded in satisfaction. You useless thing. This is all you're good for. Then he turned around and continued to study his lottery ticket. My mother-in-law saw the vegetables I bought, many of which were not very fresh and wouldn't last long. She started scolding me again. You're so stupid. Why did you buy these rotten vegetable leaves? Why didn't you buy fresh ones? You only bought this little bit. Who is going to eat it? I explained softly. The market had a sale today. These vegetables were very cheap, and half of them were free. My mother-in-law finally seemed satisfied upon hearing this. She threw the vegetables at me. What are you standing there for? Hurry up and cook. I wished I could poison the food to make them die, but I had to. Hold it in. Dying without a care is letting them off easy. Such evil people can only be deeply impressed through slow torment. The next day, as expected, the lottery ticket I had won the jackpot, a full 20 million, and my father-in-law's lottery ticket did not win. He was so angry that he smashed things at home, picking at everything, saying it must be my bad luck that caused them not to win. I didn't say much. And while I was out buying groceries, I went straight to the lottery center. I wore glasses, a mask, and a hat, and collected the 20 million prize. I donated 2 million on the spot, deposited 9 million, and withdrew 9 million, afraid the bank would become suspicious. I exchanged 5 million of the withdrawn money for gold bars from the bank. With the remaining 4 million, I must quickly build a safe house for the apocalypse to use as a refuge. Because there are only 5 days left until the arrival of the great ice and snow, it is said that a planet will pass through the solar system, blocking the sun from the earth. The planet will obstruct the heat transfer between the sun and the earth, causing extremely cold weather on earth and triggering a global freeze phenomenon. This phenomenon will last at least 3 months. 3 months will lead to the extinction of more than half of the earth's species, and I must find a way to survive this disaster. For the location of the safe house, I chose the basement where I froze to death in my past life. It is a semi-buried basement, a 3-bedroom, 2-living-room suite that was given to us at a low price when we bought the house. I originally planned to buy it and rent it out, but due to the poor real estate market in recent years, the house has been vacant. It was because of this semi-basement that my mother-in-law's family scolded me for being a money-losing item too, but soon, I will let them know who is really losing money. The basement has nearly 200 square meters of space, and if utilized well, it is enough for my production and survival. I contacted a security materials renovation company and told them I wanted to do business, needing to transform the basement into a warehouse that is both moisture-proof and waterproof, as well as temperature-controlled. Moreover, all materials must be top-notch, fireproof, theft-proof, bulletproof, and explosion-proof, and there must be a brand new ventilation and heating system. The manager of the renovation company found it very strange and said it would take time to gather resources. But when I threw 2 million cash in front of them, his eyes went wide. The manager said, "Sister, if you have money, you should have said so earlier. Don't say you want to build a top-notch industrial greenhouse. If you want to create a space house, that's no problem either." I was very satisfied and first sent a deposit of 1 million. I'm in a hurry to do business. If you can finish early under the promise of confidentiality, I will not only pay the remaining 1 million, but for every day you finish early, I will pay an extra 100,000. Sister, no problem. If you want the stars, I will pick them for you. The boss, seeing so much money, has already become obsessed with it, wanting to have the whole company come up to work on the construction. Actually, I could have chosen a better house, like a villa or a penthouse, but in my previous life, I died in this house. There's a strong obsession in my heart. This time I must live through this house and live well. I want to see those people get their just deserts and receive their due punishment. The power of money is indeed invincible. Driven by the power of money, the renovation that originally would have taken 3 days was completed in 2 days. I look at this house, which is as solid as a fortress, and feel very emotional. It has several air conditioners, refrigerators, stoves, and ventilation systems, even more than 10 silent generators. I am very satisfied with this. I paid the final payment and the bonus without hesitation. After arranging the construction with the security company, I went to the wholesale market because I needed to buy a large amount of supplies and food. Going to the supermarket would definitely attract attention, so I found a department wholesaler and told him that I wanted to open a food supermarket in the community and needed to stock up on a large amount of supplies, mainly food. I gave him 3 days to prepare the stock and also promised that if he could finish early, I would reward him 100,000 for each day in advance. The boss was very happy to see me being so generous and acted as my agent, helping me order all the supplies. Within 2 days, they had prepared all the supplies and delivered them directly to the basement in the middle of the night. The basement is usually almost empty, so no one noticed. After the wholesaler left, I was very satisfied as I counted the ordered items, and there was not a single one missing. Because this was a big order, the boss also sent a lot of extra good things. I counted. There are hundreds of caddies of rice, flour, cooking oil, hundreds of caddies of vegetables, and hundreds of caddies of meat, including beef, mutton, chicken, duck, and fish. There is a refrigerator in the room, and with the arrival of the apocalyptic freeze, there's no need to worry about freezing issues, considering the heating issues after the freeze. In addition to the generator, I also bought many gas cylinders, as well as soft and comfortable cotton quilts and textiles. I also prepared more than 10 sets of space-grade protective suits and down jackets, which can withstand the extreme cold of -100 degrees in the icy world. There's no need to worry about water sourcing, but I still stored a whole room of purified water, as well as a water purifier. In addition, I bought some frozen foods and self-heating rice and hot pot. The colder the winter, the better it is to eat hot food. I also bought a lot of snacks, such as chicken feet, duck feet, cakes, chocolates, and desserts. To stay in the insulated house for more than a month, it's not enough to have solved food, clothing, and shelter. I also stockpiled several boxes of sanitary napkins, toys to pass the time, and a game console. I also went to the mall and bought some high-end cosmetics, as well as beautiful jewelry and clothes. Even during the freezing period, I will still be a delicate girl. After solving all these, I also went to the pharmacy to prepare various common medicines for myself, because after the end of the apocalypse, many people will be injured, and those who are not frozen to death will suffer from frostbite, and they will all need a large amount of medicine. That way, I can help others. The supplies I prepared could last for more than 3 months, maybe even a year or more. I was secretly building my own safe house while dealing with my in-laws. On the 3rd day, the temperature suddenly dropped from over 30 degrees to around 10 degrees, and summer turned into autumn. At first, everyone didn't pay much attention, but by the 4th day, the day became dark, and the temperature dropped to near 0 degrees. The sky even started to snow. It's like snow in June, and people are in a state of panic. The Meteorological Bureau couldn't find the reason for a while, and then it led to skyrocketing prices. Every time I go grocery shopping, I come back empty-handed, or I only buy some of the cheapest pickled vegetables and steamed buns, and the quantity is very small, just enough for them to have one meal. My husband and in-laws are very dissatisfied. My mother-in-law said, "Even if you were feeding pigs, you shouldn't feed them this little. Do you want to starve us?" I said, very aggrieved. The temperature has suddenly dropped, and prices have risen sharply. Now a cabbage costs 100 yuan. With 100 yuan, I could buy several lottery tickets. If I bought all the vegetables, what a loss. My father-in-law was very happy to hear this and said, "Yes, yes, yes, if you eat a cabbage, it will be gone. But if you buy a lottery ticket, what if you hit the jackpot? Free." My father-in-law then transferred 100 yuan to me and said, "Buy me a few more lottery tickets tomorrow." I gladly accepted. My mother-in-law and husband had no choice but to take out the food I had previously hoarded, eating pickled vegetables and drinking thin porridge. I used to be a hoarder, fond of budgeting, and my refrigerator was always packed to the brim, but now I deliberately don't buy new food. They can only consume the stored supplies. Sure enough, 2 days later, the once full refrigerator was half empty. Food consumption in the refrigerator is easy, but replenishing it has become exceptionally difficult. On the 4th day, the snow stopped, but the temperature dropped to -10 degrees, especially at night. There was a heavy rain, and the next day, the rainwater froze the entire city. The streets and the exterior walls of the community were all frozen. People began to panic because after the traffic came to a standstill, all supplies started to run short. By the 5th day, the temperature approached -30 degrees, and prices soared tenfold. The prices of essential goods like food, drinking water, and clothing even increased by 100 times. The community started heating early, but the heating cost is high, and the family's savings are far from enough. It used to cost just a few thousand, but now it's several 10,000. No heating, just waiting to freeze to death. The family's savings are all in fixed deposits and can't be withdrawn for the time being. The husband and father-in-law turned their eyes to the mother-in-law. In desperation, the mother-in-law had to sell all her jewelry to pay the heating bill. She was heartbroken. However, the big expenses after the temperature dropped are still many. Although the community started heating early, with the rising prices, even candles have increased from 50 cents to 500 each. The prices of vegetables, fruits, rice, flour, and cooking oil are also extremely high. On the 6th day, even more terrifying things happened. Due to the low temperature, some Pipelines and lines were frozen and broken, causing power outages. The community announced that after 6 p.m., the elevator would be out of service, and everyone would have to take the stairs afterwards, and my in-laws live on the 34th floor, the top floor, which was simply a nightmare. Just then, the door was knocked on. It was the beautiful neighbor next door, Vale. She and my husband grew up together, and they were like childhood sweethearts. Vale had always wanted to find a rich person, so a few years ago, she didn't end up with my husband. Later, her wealthy boyfriend went bankrupt, and she turned back to my husband. In the past 2 years, she has been flirting with him constantly. My husband has also been very considerate of her, and whenever there was something good, he would always give it to her first. When she saw me, she greeted me enthusiastically. Sister-in-law, hello, I responded with a forced smile. Vale, what's the matter? Vale was straightforward. Sister-in-law, my home is very cold, but I can't even afford the heating bill. My parents are old and don't have savings. Can I borrow some food from your house? My husband is a man who forgets his principles upon seeing beauty, and he immediately showed no boundaries upon seeing Vale. He rarely entered the kitchen and didn't know the condition of the refrigerator. Thinking it was as full as before, he immediately took out rice, flour, and 2 cabbages to give to Vale. My mother-in-law looked on with great concern, signaling him not to do that, but my husband didn't listen to the advice. Since the in-laws couldn't persuade him, they turned their eyes to me, implying that I should try to him. I pretended to say, husband, the prices of things have gone up a lot lately, so we need to be careful with our expenses. I deliberately said to Vale, there's no food at home, so eat less, just think of it as a diet. Vale looked very wronged and said, brother, sister-in-law, I'm sorry, I know you dislike me. My husband immediately felt heartbroken. He scolded me, you old hag, don't talk nonsense, I'm in charge of this family, it's not up to you. He turned to Vale and said, don't listen to that yellow-faced woman, you're so beautiful, how can you go hungry? He poured her half a pot of oil again. Vale walked away with a smile and said, thank you, when I get my salary next month, I will definitely pay you back. After Vale left, my husband scolded me again, you old hag, who told you to interrupt just now? I lost so much face. My in-laws also changed their attitude. My father-in-law said, yes, Vale is so filial, she wants things for her parents, unlike you, who only knows how to make us angry. The mother-in-law continued, look at Vale, her figure is so good, she will definitely be able to have children in the future, unlike you, who has been married for 2 years and still has no children. I felt extremely heartbroken after hearing that. I knew I had to leave. My last shred of affection for them had long been exhausted. I said, what should we do? You gave the food to Vale, and our family will have nothing to eat soon. The only way to make money now is to buy a lottery ticket. I said to my father-in-law, why don't you write down a few lottery numbers for us to buy a ticket? As soon as my father-in-law heard this, his eyes lit up. He was very confident in the lottery numbers he wrote. He immediately found a statue of the god of wealth and respectfully bowed 3 times. He closed his eyes and wrote down a few sets of numbers based on his feelings. I held back my laughter and asked, so who is going to buy the lottery ticket? I said on purpose, husband, go buy some lottery tickets. It's too cold outside. We'll get frozen. My husband immediately got angry. You also know it's cold enough to freeze people, yet you still want me to go out. Are you trying to drive me crazy? My in-laws also said with concern, it's so cold outside. What if our son falls down? Daughter-in-law, you're young, you're the most useless person in the family. If not you, who else would go? Saying that, my husband already pushed me to the door. For you stupid wife, stop talking, go if you have to. As the door opened, a cold wind rushed in, and I shivered. I pretended to be scared and said, no, it's too cold outside. I'll put on my cotton coat and a big down jacket before going out. My mother-in-law laughed coldly. A down jacket costs over 10,000 yuan now. Do you even deserve to wear one? Just let you freeze to death. Then, with a bang, I was pushed out of the door. They coldly shut the door on me, and I finally let out a long sigh of relief. The show is over. I have finished my performance. I checked my phone and backpack. The backpack contains all the keys to the basement, my old cards, and some personal items I had prepared long ago, just before the elevator stopped operating. I got off the elevator and went straight to the basement level. I had just stepped off the elevator when it lost power. This means that in the future, no one will come to the basement level anymore. I used the key to open my insulated room, and I felt incredibly happy as soon as I entered. I had turned on the fresh air system and heating in advance through my phone. As I entered the room, a warm breeze greeted me. This long-lost warmth makes me want to cry. I took off my wool coat and wore only a t-shirt. I don't feel cold at all in the house. In my last life, I died alone In this room, in complete darkness, without any lighting or heating, all alone and miserable. I don't understand why they treat me this way, just because my parents passed away early, just because I am the orphan they talk about when I got married. Although my parents had already passed away, they left me an old, dilapidated house. I sold the old, dilapidated house, gathered my dowry, and then bought this semi-basement. Looking back now, my choice at that time was truly wise, but my in-laws are really shameless. They think that since my parents are gone and I have no brothers to rely on, everything, including myself, belongs to them, but I am myself. I will also do things my own way. Before, in my in-laws' house, I had been eating pickled vegetable porridge for several days, and I had almost forgotten what meat tasted like. I immediately took out the vacuum-packed roast duck from the refrigerator and heated it in the microwave. The whole room was filled with the aroma of roast duck. I took a big bite of the duck leg, and as the meat flavor hit my mouth, I was filled with happiness. All over, the roast duck was fatty but not greasy, with a perfect crispy skin and tender meat, and the sauce flavor was also perfect. I ate the whole duck leg. After satisfying my craving, I slowly sliced the roast duck, took out the wraps, the dipping sauce, and the cucumber and scallion strips at the dining table. I ate the roast duck elegantly and also made myself a fresh juice, of course. I also need some side dishes to go with my drink, which is my electronic pickled vegetable. My electronic pickled vegetables are the surveillance on the 34th floor. Before leaving home, I had already installed surveillance in the living room. Everything about my in-laws and husband is under my watchful eyes. After the elevator stopped operating, the property management sent a notice in the group. Still, no one cares about me. My mother-in-law even said gleefully, "It's good that the elevator is out of service. That way, when that loser comes back, he won't be able to take the elevator." My husband also laughed. "That nasty woman can only climb up to the 34th floor step by step. It would be good if she gets exhausted." But by the time it got dark, I still hadn't returned. My husband was so hungry that his stomach was growling, complaining about why dinner wasn't ready yet. When I'm not home, my mother-in-law doesn't realize my value. In the future, when I'm not home, cooking will undoubtedly fall on her shoulders. Quickly, the father-in-law also urged, "You old hag, since the daughter-in-law is not here, why aren't you cooking? Do you want to starve us two men?" The mother-in-law was not very willing, because she was used to me serving her and eating the food I cooked, but now, with two big men in the house giving orders, she had no choice but to go to the kitchen. As a result, the three of them ate a meal, and the stock of food was greatly reduced. For this, they were quite proud of themselves. The mother-in-law said proudly, "There's still half a pig's trotter in the fridge, let's eat it quickly, and hide it from that heartless daughter-in-law. After we eat it, when she comes back, there will only be a few bones left for her to gnaw." They didn't know that what was left in the fridge were all some cheap, rotten vegetables. That piece of pig's trotter was the last piece of meat in the house. They had lent all the rice, flour, and oil to the neighbor, and that piece of pig's trotter was their last dinner. After finishing the meal, I still hadn't returned. Grandpa finally remembered his lottery ticket. Grandpa said, "That dead daughter-in-law, why hasn't she come back? She probably didn't get the lottery and wants to keep it all for herself." I found it funny. He still has some sense. I did win the lottery, but the money was already deposited into my account. My husband was still looking at his phone and chatting with Vale from next door, after being interrupted by Grandpa. He was very reluctant. In order to prevent the family's lottery from being lost, he still called me. 5. When I answered the phone, I had just finished half a roasted duck and felt a bit greasy, so I took out mango, pineapple, banana, kiwi, and a big glass of yogurt from the fridge to make a fruit salad, and enjoyed it deliciously. On the phone, my husband heard me eating and became very angry. He interrogated me, "You bastard, what are you up to? Our whole family is starving, and you're eating outside. Where are you? What are you eating?" I quickly changed my tone and answered in a pitiful voice, "Honey, I'm currently at the relief station outside, eating dry steamed buns and drinking cold water. I'm almost frozen to death." My husband asked in surprise, "What did you say? You're at a relief station?" I continued to fabricate. "Yes, when I left, I encountered a storm, the road was blocked, and I couldn't go back. Fortunately, I found a relief supply point here. There's a lot of food here, including vegetables, meat, eggs, milk." The people at the relief station said that in 2 days, when the snow melts, they will drive me back and distribute supplies to every household, so I don't want to eat. I'm saving it all for you. My husband had the speakerphone on, and his parents also heard what I said, and they were very happy. My in-laws cheered and said, "We're saved. We knew the community wouldn't abandon us. Great, we don't have to be so frugal anymore. There's relief supplies coming." They were so naive. If there was a relief station, how could the property management not tell everyone? Moreover, everyone knew about the relief station, but no one thought of coming to look for me and bring me back. They just wanted to sit and wait, expecting me to bring the supplies back for them. "It's really sad and pitiful." I simply said, "Honey, my phone is about to run out of battery. I need to queue to charge it. I'll talk to you later." After that, I hung up the phone and turned it off for a full 3 days and nights. The asteroid has blocked half of the sunlight, and the sky outside is gray and dim by night. I only dared to turn on the lights for a little while. I bought blackout soundproof curtains, so even if I have a party here, sing and dance, others won't know. But wealth should not be flaunted. It's better to be a bit low-key these 3 days. I have lived very leisurely. In the morning, I made myself a cake and drank milk at noon. I enjoyed the frozen world outside while eating hot pot with beef rolls, lamb rolls, shrimp paste, yellow throat, and tripe. In the evening, I try to save electricity, so I eat sashimi, salmon, Arctic clams, sweet shrimp, sea urchin, as well as foie gras and caviar 3 meals a day, living so simply every day. While eating, I open my computer to watch the movies and TV shows I had stored up before. I follow the characters from the second dimension, experiencing joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness together. And I can also gain emotional satisfaction, of course, with all this eating, drinking, and playing every day. My favorite show is still The Family of my in-laws on the 34th floor. Now, in order to save electricity, the community only has intermittent power supply for each household. Just 3 days have passed, and the house is already in chaos. The reason is simple. My in-laws and husband know that I have food and drink at the rescue station, and that I will send them relief supplies in a few days. After that, they completely let themselves go, indulging and eating extravagantly. Soon, the refrigerator was empty. There are only a few rotten vegetable leaves left at home. Just at this moment, Vale from next door came to borrow some vegetables again. If she borrows again, our family will really have to drink the northwest wind. My in-laws also stopped pretending and directly said they couldn't lend any, but Vale, with red eyes, sweetly and coyly asked my husband, "Good brother, let's talk privately. Only by filling my stomach can I give you a son." The statement was too obvious in its implication. As soon as my husband heard it, he melted and immediately took Vale to the bedroom. I couldn't help but curse. What a scumbag. After Vale left, the house was empty, and there was nothing to eat at all. This family finally became panicked. The in-laws asked in the neighborhood group, who still has food at home, "Can you please do us a favor?" But at this moment, anyone who had food would prioritize their own survival first. Who would bother with them? Some people were even so hungry they had no strength to speak. At this moment, the mother-in-law suddenly remembered me. "Where is that dead daughter-in-law? She said the relief station has food and drinks. Why hasn't she brought them to us yet?" The father-in-law was also angry. If it weren't for her, would we have eaten all the food in the fridge so quickly? My husband was also frustrated, cursing and calling my phone, but I was still turned off. He saw that my phone was unreachable and got very angry, raising the phone as if to throw it on the ground. But in the end, he held back, because if he broke it, he would have no phone left, so he had to pick it up in a huff. At this moment, I had a sudden burst of kindness, turned on the camera, and made a video call to them. When the phone rang, my husband almost answered it in seconds. He came on and yelled, "Wretched woman, where are you? We're about to starve to death." In the video, I was enjoying a delightful barbecue time with a special grill. On my barbecue grill, there were tomahawk steaks, lamb chops, fresh shrimp, Australian blue lobster, and even king crab. I specially adjusted the video angle so that my husband and in-laws could see all this delicious food. When they saw it, their eyes widened, and they were drooling uncontrollably. My husband shouted, "Wretched woman, where are you? You're eating so well. Let me see that lobster. I'm about to starve to death. I've never eaten such good lobster in my life." Eating barbecue around the fireplace in a -50-degree snowy world is such a warm and happy thing. My in-laws were going crazy with jealousy. I pretended to be wronged and said, "I've been at the rescue station all along. If you don't believe me, come find me. Do you dare to go out?" As I said this, I was about to hang up the phone. They all panicked. My mother-in-law said, "Don't hang up, don't hang up. We're almost starving. Daughter-in-law, please, send us some food." I said, "Sure, but you 3 have to kneel down and bow to me first. I might consider sending you some." Upon hearing they had to kneel, my father-in-law and husband got angry. "After all, they are 2 grown men." My husband said, "You shameless woman, I am your man, your sky. How could you ask us to kneel to you?" But my mother-in-law was almost starving, and she immediately knelt down. She said, "At this point, who cares about old or young, male or female? Having food is already good enough." I said leisurely, "Since the 2 of them are unwilling to kneel, then forget it. Just wait for the community's aid." My father-in-law and my husband both cursed at the same time, "Bitch," but the next second, they could only kneel down unwillingly. "Is there gold under a man's knee?" "It doesn't exist." I smiled and said, "You performed well, but unfortunately, I still can't give you food." My husband got angry and stood up, saying, "You old hag, you lied to us. You just said that as long as we kneel, you would consider giving us food." I said, "Yes. What I said earlier was that I would consider it. Now, after my consideration, my answer is, no food." Do you know why? Because I was once like this, crying and kneeling to beg you. Their current plight is what I once experienced in my last life. Before I almost froze to death, I called my husband one last time, begging him to save me, but when he saw me about to freeze to death, he looked at me with great disdain. I knelt on the ground and said, "Please, just give me a bite to eat. I won't delay your good thing with Vale. We can get a divorce." My husband said angrily, "You old hag, do you think I don't understand the law? If we divorce, you will take half of my property. Dream on, go die." Then, he ruthlessly hung up the phone. I was left alone, frozen to death. So now, why should I act like a saint and forgive them? In the following days, the ethical drama on the surveillance turned into a horror show. After the food supplies were cut off, waiting at home only led to a dead end in the community. Every day someone wailed about who in their family had starved to death or frozen to death. A month later, the community group fell silent. No one was wailing anymore. It was dead silence. Those who are alive do not dare to speak. Once they do, they may never be able to speak again. A few days ago, there was a very kind girl on the 15th floor. She heard someone crying in the hallway, saying they were about to starve to death. The girl naively opened the door, wanting to share a pack of instant noodles, but the next second, she was overwhelmed by neighbors who rushed in and divided all the food and belongings in her home. Even her own body was fully utilized. From then on, no one dared to go outside anymore. But if they don't go out, they will starve to death even more. The father-in-law, mother-in-law, and husband discussed that one of them must go out. What if they are lucky and encounter a rescue station? At this point, respecting and caring for the elderly became an empty phrase. Both of the two men's eyes were on my mother-in-law. I had already said that I was the bottom of the food chain in the family. If I left, my mother-in-law would become the bottom. Indeed, in the surveillance footage, my husband had red eyes and was starving. He said to his mother, "Mom, you don't want us to starve to death, do you? Go find a shelter. Once you find it, we can survive. If you don't go, we will all starve to death." My mother-in-law cried in fear and said, "How could there be a shelter? It must be that dead daughter-in-law tricking us. You can't believe her. If I go out in this cold weather, I will definitely freeze to death." I felt very sad. They knew that at this time, it was not possible to go out, but in the previous life, when the temperature was below zero, they still threw me out of the house and let me freeze to death. My father-in-law impatiently pushed my mother-in-law out of the house. Grandpa said, "You old hag, when a woman marries into our family, she's destined to serve men. Now you don't go find some food. Do you expect us to go out?" When the grandmother was pushed out, she fell down. Her knee hit the cold wall, and her left leg became lame immediately. She had no choice but to slowly feel her way down the stairs in the hallway. After much effort, she climbed down the stairs and exited the building, but the next second, as she just reached the community garden, she fell again. After falling, the grandmother could not get up again. A few minutes later, she turned into an ice statue. Lying stiffly in the community area, from the 34th floor, Grandpa and her husband saw the grandmother's body. If they had rushed down the stairs to save her at that moment, maybe the grandmother could have survived, but none of them acted. 7. In the end times, the most testing thing is human nature. The next day, when people looked outside again, the grandmother frozen into a popsicle had already been dragged away. No one knows exactly where they went, but everyone is well aware at this time. Both the father-in-law and husband had already fainted from hunger. They were starving mad. Since the grandmother's body was taken away, the father-in-law started having nightmares at night. He seemed to dream of the grandmother, cut into pieces, with hideous scars on her face. Because the father-in-law kept having nightmares and couldn't sleep well, combined with the freezing cold, his heart disease soon flared up. "Son, hurry, help me get the medicine. Save me," father-in-law is shouting in the living room. I am watching the video, feeling anxious and terrified, because I saw that my husband was standing next to father-in-law. He clearly had the fast-acting heart-saving pills in his hand, but he didn't give them to father-in-law. My husband is also so hungry that he has lost his mind. He coldly said, "Dad, I'm about to starve to death. I don't have the strength to hand you the medicine. You're old. You might as well just die. After all, your son hasn't eaten for many days." Father-in-law understood his meaning and was shocked. He wept bitterly and said, "Son, I am your biological father. You can't treat me like this." My husband said fiercely, "You raised a son. Isn't it just to extend your life for me? Now is the time for you to make your contribution. You can rest assured and go find my mom." "Son, don't help." The father-in-law had no medicine, struggled for a long time, and stopped talking. The husband helped him close his eyes. Just then, the doorbell suddenly rang. The beautiful neighbor Vale is here to mooch food again. She was cold and hungry, and not dressed warmly. She unbuttoned her top, revealing a large area. Although she had been worn down and was now thin, her figure was no longer full. She said to her husband, "Good brother, can you help me again? I am willing to give you anything." But halfway through her words, she screamed, because she saw on the ground the corpse of my father-in-law. Help! Vale wanted to escape, but it was too late. My husband was so hungry that he instinctively grabbed her. In his eyes, this woman was no longer a woman, but a piece of walking fat. My husband blocked the door, picked up a kitchen fruit knife, and stabbed it into her heart. In the face of life and death, everything seems trivial. I couldn't bear to watch any longer and was so scared that I closed my eyes. 15. For the next 2 months, I didn't watch the surveillance of the top floor. In my apocalypse cabin, I spent each day peacefully until the 3rd month. The radio announced that the asteroid had flown away, the sun shone on the Earth again, and the ice and snow began to melt. Finally, the community group chat returned to normal. Someone asked in the group, which families still have people alive? At first, the group was silent, but slowly, someone responded, 401, 601, 706, 1502, 2404, 3107. There are people alive in all these rooms. They share their ways of survival. The most frequently mentioned words are love and sharing, but the words that no one dares to say are ruthless and self-preservation. Finally, someone reported that there are also people alive in 3404. My heart jumped. 3404 is my home, isn't it? Is my husband still alive? 8. Did he really survive by those 2 corpses? Then, someone in the group cried for help. Come quickly, is there a doctor? The male owner of 3404 is still alive, but he's gone mad. There are 2 almost rotten corpses in his house. In the background, there were screams. As if a struggle was taking place. Suddenly, a loud bang. A figure fell from the upper floor and crashed heavily into the community area. It's my husband. It turned out that he had gone mad long ago after committing murder. He fought with the property management staff and fell to his death by accident. A few days later, the snow melted, and the world gradually returned to normal. I quietly walked out of the safe house. The property management acted in self-defense, which caused my husband to fall from the building. They expressed their apologies and gave me $2 million in compensation. I counted my assets after donating and building a safe house. I had $10 million left in savings after deducting $4 million, plus $6 million in gold bars, $1 million in compensation, and a house worth $3 million.